It's time for Twit, This Week in Tech. Oh, we have a good panel for you. Florence Ions here from All About Android. Matt Cutts, the acting administrator of the U.S. Digital Service. And Sam Abul-Samid, the senior analyst at Navigate Research and our car guy. We are going to talk about the anniversary of the IBM PC, the Galaxy Note 9, and, I don't know, maybe a scary robot that'll sort your socks. It's all coming up next on Twit.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is Twit, This Week in Tech, episode 679, recorded Sunday, August 12th, 2018. Hotbox, the Waymo. This Week in Tech is brought to you by Rocket Mortgage from Quicken Loans, introducing Rate Shield Approval. If you're in the market to buy a home, Rate Shield Approval locks up your rate for up to 90 days while you shop. It's a real game changer. Learn more and get started at rocketmortgage.com/twit2. And by ZipRecruiter. Hiring is challenging, but there's one place you can go where hiring is simple and smart. That place is ZipRecruiter, where growing businesses connect to qualified candidates. Try it free at ziprecruiter.com/twit. And by Ring. Ring's Alarm Security Kit is a smarter way to protect your entire home. Go to ring.com/twit to learn how you can get whole home security for only $10 a month. And by WordPress. Reach more customers when you build your business website on WordPress.com. Plans start at just $4 a month and get 15% off any new plan at WordPress.com/twit. It's time for Twit, This Week in Tech, the show where we cover the week's tech news with a distinguished panel of tech news experts. Actually, I am kind of liking the mix on this panel. This will be fun, starting with all the way to my right, Sam Abul-Samid, who is a car guru, senior analyst at Navigate Research. He brought us a hydrogen fuel cell powered Honda this week.
Yeah. And,
thank you.
Recorded a segment with Megan earlier that'll be on Screensavers next week.
Nice. What do you think? You like it?
Yeah. It's a nice little car.
It's basically an electric car, but instead of battery charging, you have to put hydrogen.
Yeah, instead of plugging it into a wall, you plug it into a hydrogen pump and fills up in about 5 minutes, and then you're on your way again.
That's an advantage. Fills up in 5 minutes. That's
as
nice.
long as you can find a hydrogen station.
Oh, that.
There is that little detail.
You said there are 13 in California.
There's about 3 dozen right now.
Oh, all right. Yeah, wow, that's a lot.
Yeah.
So
there's only 30 miles to Mill Valley for the closest one here.
That's not bad. Get your gas.
Uses up half of it.
Pick up, I don't know what you can get in Mill Valley, but, that's good. Get lunch.
Yeah.
Florence Ion is here. This is her third or fourth show of the week.
Yes.
Host of All About Android. She was here on Tuesday for the Note 9 reveal.
Yep.
Galaxy Unplugged.
Galaxy Note 9.
Unpacked.
I think it's
Unpacked.
I knew it was unsomething. Good to have you,
Uncovered.
Flo.
Thank you for having me.
And back from Washington, D.C., the nation's capital, Mr. Matt Cutts, acting administrator of the United States Digital Service. Can we play Ruffles and Flourishes when Matt comes in?
No need.
This shirt's got a little running man.
This is my Pitfall running man.
Oh, it's Pitfall. Of course it is.
No flag / big
like
red,
that.
white, and blue this time.
No, this is good. Great to see you, Matt.
Good to see you,
And
too.
you're still in D.C. This is still ongoing.
But I just can't stay away. So.
Well, you come out here a lot. I know you got to recruit for the digital service. You got to talk to Silicon Valley. Tell them how much the country needs help.
Yeah.
Good.
Certainly does.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, there's a lot to do. The digital service turned around the VA website. It was originally started, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was originally started when the ACA, the Obamacare website, was such a mess. They went out to private industry, charged him an arm and a leg to make just an unusable site.
Yep.
And Silicon Valley said, let us help.
Right. Silicon Valley can help. And now we celebrated our 4th birthday yesterday.
Congratulations.
How crazy is that?
Happy birthday.
We had a birthday cake with binary on it. It was a lot of fun.
Happy birthday. You know what else? You know who else's birthday it is today? On this date in 1981, the IBM PC came out. We were just looking before the show at some of the ads for IBM PCs. Do you remember that it was Charlie Chaplin the original IBM ads? Here you go.
If you're thinking of buying a personal computer, and all the signs say it's time to take the first step, a few questions may still be holding you back. Will your PC have the power you want to run the software you want?
We've come a long way. Now, this wasn't the first personal computer. Obviously, Apple had been there.
But like that car, they were steam powered, I believe.
Yeah, 4 or 5 years earlier, in
With
1977. Atari made computers. Commodore made computers. In fact, remember Apple very famously took out a full-page ad, I think it was in the Wall Street Journal, that said, "Welcome, IBM." Seriously. An ad they later regretted, I'm sure. Look at that. Dot matrix printers. Software.
And today, prices are better than ever.
Lotus 1, 2, 3.
There you go. Yep.
Once you take the first step, the rest come easy. IBM personal computers. See them at a store near you or call your IBM
See them at a
representative.
store near you.
Yeah, you don't hear that much anymore.
Good luck finding a computer in a store anymore.
Actually,
Or
I
a
went
store
to
for-
Fry's. I went to Fry's last weekend, and
Oh.
there's still computers there.
There's still fries. That actually
and-
gives me hope in the
I
world.
had-
And there's
I
still
had to
Best
buy-
Buys, too.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah, they sell refrigerators and washing machines, though, so...
And security cameras.
Yeah.
Lots of
Fries, on the other hand, sells like
Everything.
geeky stuff.
Everything.
Slim Jims.
They also sell washing
They do also sell Slim Jims.
I mean,
Yes.
if you're on a road trip,
chips
saying.
and chips.
No, this Fry's also had air fresheners and candles.
Oh,
which
you
I
mean the
thought-
Slim Jims you eat? I thought you meant the skinny ones that
That way
you
you
Open up
drive
car
the
doors
open.
with?
Yeah.
Maybe.
You have a criminal mind, Sam. So the Galaxy Note 9.
Yes.
This really shows, actually, it's great. When you think back to 1981 when the IBM PC came out and how limited that, power-wise, that was, a 4 megahertz 8088. They came with a cassette adapter for storage because nobody could afford floppies, although you could get a floppy drive with it. Hard drive, yeah, but what was it, 5 megabytes, 10 megabytes? It wasn't very big. Megabytes, not gigabytes, kids. And then you look at the Galaxy Note 9, which, if you're willing to pay through the nose, has a terabyte of storage, as much as.
As much as.
So there's it's a couple of things I found interesting. You were there for the announcement, so you could tell me more, Flo. But the base unit, the base model, the cheapest one you get, $999.
Yeah.
And that's for 6 gigs of RAM and 128 gigs of storage, which is probably enough for anybody. But
Probably.
then there's a $1,250 version with 8 gigs of RAM and a 512 gig storage.
500, that's half a terabyte.
And then Samsung says we're going to make 512 megabyte micro SD cards. You can add to that
Yep.
for a full terabyte.
You're gonna actually, I know that those slots take up to 2 terabytes. If you get the SanDisk makes a 2 terabyte.
Does SanDisk
card.
make how
Yeah.
much is a 2 terabyte?
I think Jason and I looked it up. I think it was around like $80 or extra or something like that.
No.
Oh, it's got to be more than that.
No, you looked up something else. That's gotta
Granted,
be
this was several
thousands
days
of
ago.
dollars. Micro, maybe the prices have gone down. Micro SD card. Let's see what the SanDisk Ultra 128 is. Is 100.
Okay, not bad.
$31.
All right. So
Yeah,
I
yeah,
definitely overshot it a little bit.
Yeah, let me see.
Don't forget the liquid cooling,
Yeah,
just like a Power Mac G5.
here's Samsung's. This is
That's
the
right,
one I
there's
use.
Liquid cooling.
This is the 256 gig Evo. That's $100. I mean, I guess the point is, why would anybody need more than that?
Dex, Samsung Dex.
What? You're kidding me.
I mean, if you want to use your phone as a desktop replacement,
Yeah. All you need
As
is
a
the cable
mobile
now. You
workstation.
don't even need it.
So
you don't
I
even need a
still
dock
have
anymore.
my Dex Puck. Can I use
I
that?
still have that too.
Yeah. Can I use that with the new Galaxy Note 9?
I mean, I would assume so. It's got the same USB-C
Yeah,
plug.
well, apparently, I think you don't actually need the dock anymore. I think you can just
Yeah.
plug it in directly to a monitor now.
Sounds like it just
use
takes
a USB-C
HDMI.
to an HDMI
Yeah.
Oh,
cable.
okay. That's not so bad.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then how do you do the keyboard and mouse? The monitor has a
Bluetooth.
has to have Bluetooth.
Bluetooth.
Okay.
Yeah, no USB.
But it's running Android on a big screen. Most of the time, what you're going to run is special Samsung apps. At least that's how it was with
Yeah.
the S8, I guess it was.
It's
when
about
Dex
the
first came
same.
out.
It's about the same.
Specialized apps.
And there are some like app
Google
suites
Docs,
that work.
you know.
Yeah,
Yeah, but does Google Docs stretch to fill the screen? It does.
Yeah.
Okay.
because of the Chromebook.
Yeah, but this is Android.
Yeah, but that all translates over.
Okay.
It's all.
It's all one big code base,
Yeah,
right,
it's
Matt?
just-
Yeah, that's completely unified.
No, but
Seamless.
no. I just meant for the experience of Google Docs.
Right.
they're made to be expanded and shrunk and expanded and shrunk, so it would work
Chromebooks
fine.
can run Android apps.
It's interesting, though, that there isn't a lot of new stuff in the Note 9. In fact, there's really nothing.
Just specs, just spec bumps.
It's faster. It's got an 845.
The S Pen is a camera remote.
Okay, now that's a good and bad thing. So that means the S Pen has Bluetooth LE.
It does.
And that means you have to charge the S Pen. It
Takes
has a
30 seconds.
Yeah, super capacitor in there,
Yes.
so it charges very fast.
Yes.
But how long does it run on a 30-second charge?
Half an hour, they said.
Okay, so fine if you're just taking a picture.
Yes.
Less fine if you're sketching. Really less fine
can
if you're
still
taking
sketch.
notes. You can sketch, but half an hour later, does it still sketch?
Yes. So you can
Oh.
still use the S Pen portion. It's just the button, Bluetooth, remote portion does
That
not
one.
work.
Oh,
yeah.
that's fine.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I
yeah.
can-
So is it a Wacom type of technology
I think
with
so.
the S Pen?
Ish, something.
Wacom-ish.
Yes.
So that doesn't actually need separate power. It's just detecting.
yeah.
the,
But they're highlighting stuff like, and if you get the lavender phone, you get the lavender pen that draws in lavender ink on the screen.
Ooh, you can unlock.
I do love
special-
But the
purple.
yellow pen does look pretty cool.
If you get the blue phone, it gets the yellow pen and writes in yellow ink on the lock screen.
Oh man,
It's a
can you
highlighter.
imagine if you have to buy each pen in a different color to use that color?
I actually would love to be able to
Well, it's
choose my own S
the
Pen.
old, days when we had pens that had like four
four-color ink.
Yeah, four color.
Yeah.
Four
I
different
don't know
ink
about you. I
pens in
still
there.
have pens like
It
that.
just feels like
Still buy them.
If this is the feature set we're talking about, we've really come to a plateau.
Stagnation.
Stagnation in the development of smartphones. Did they spend a lot of time on the camera?
Yes.
But not a huge amount because it's pretty much the same as the S9, I would imagine.
Yes. I mean, I know there's some new selfie modes,
Again,
which is always.
they still have
How
the
many
really-
cameras? Is it
No,
two cameras still?
It's two cameras.
Then they have this-
scene optimizer modes, which is
Scene
it's all
optimizer
fun marketing spiels.
No.
I just want to point and click some shit.
Here we go.
Oh,
We have
There's
pens.
twin ones.
We have pens.
look at you can have any color you want as
Can I
long
have
as
this
it's
one?
red, green, blue. You can.
That's pretty great.
You both can. What you
I'm
don't
fine.
have one
I'm
for?
fine. No, it's cool.
No, I want to see this in the White House.
Here, you can take
Yeah.
that.
I am curious. When
We'll
you
get
get
you
a
another
half
one.
hour of pen, is that a half hour of button pushing of pen, or is that a half
No,
hour?
button
total?
pushing on a regular pen. Oh, the S Pen.
Pen, the
I think
spin.
that's forever pushing.
Okay.
Because it does
That's
a little
the key.
pop up.
Because if you were taking notes in a meeting, you could
Yeah.
say, "Well, the meeting's over. I ran out of battery in my pen." That's not really good. So
Actually, if you've ever worked at a place where you've spent a lot of time in meetings, that's actually a pretty good thing.
actually, it's a good excuse.
I think
and I'm done.
I think there's
All
it's
meetings
time
are-
to
Yes.
stop the meeting.
once
From
once
now
my
on-
S Pen runs out of battery,
You're done.
I'm out of here.
Yeah.
This is another example of we've reached plateau. 516 pixels per
Well,
inch.
as you like to say, Leo, we're in the tail fin era of smartphones.
Tail fins.
Oh, wow.
You don't need more than three. I don't think you could see more than 300 dots per inch. Probably don't need more than 250. 516.
I'm still fine with it.
It is a little
1080p.
bigger, isn't it, though, than the last
it's
note?
6.4 inches across.
Oh, did you see?
Super AMOLED.
Wait a minute. Let me see if I can get that animation
no
again.
notch.
Because it shows
notch.
you, when you look at the Samsung page, it shows you the difference. Let me refresh the page so you can all see what a big difference 6.3 is
Pens
to
for everybody.
6.4. This page takes forever to load. All right, watch. Here we go. As I scroll up, oh man, it's still loading. Okay. I apologize.
It's clearly not running on a Note 9.
We only have 10 gigabit internet here, and it's just not able to keep up with this page.
Maybe it's Flash.
Let's see. S Pen. Isn't this? It had the littlest, tiniest little bump as it gets slightly bigger. Littlest tiny. Look at this. It's still loading. A vast canvas. Watch.
Whoop. Zoop.
How much bigger?
You kid. That was like a quarter of an inch.
How much bigger? 6.4. It's actually a tenth of an inch bigger diagonally. What is a lot bigger, 700 milliamp hours bigger, is the battery. It's
That's
a
true.
4,000 milliamp hour
4,000
battery.
milliamps. One of the biggest mainstream Android phones.
Only Huawei
right
has
now.
reached that.
Yeah, but they're not here in
Right.
the U.S. So
But that raises the question. It's really interesting. I mean, it was only 2 notes ago that they had the exploding note. It was only the note.
you're not the first person to say that this week. A lot of people have noted big
They
battery.
skipped the Note 7.
Well,
It was
that's
the
why
Note
they had
6,
that's
right?
why they had to add the extra tenth of an inch. So you had capacity for more.
It is a
battery.
bigger battery.
for the water cooling.
Well, but
fins.
this is the interesting thing. They have water cooling.
They do now.
So
is
there,
there like a little pump in there that circulates the? I mean, how does that work?
You put lights in it, like in a PC case.
it's not quite like that, but they did show this little panel. I don't know if it's vapor, water cooling, or something, but there is. I mean,
Wow.
Vapors come out of it. You're in a humidity room.
I do think that a bigger battery
coming
would-
out of the
It's like when you get on
out
a
of the
plane.
speaker grill.
Steampunk.
What's interesting is that I think this is one of the things.
That's why they had to keep the headphone jack so you could have a vent.
Yes, exactly. It's actually a vent.
People do want more battery life.
They do. That's like the
Yes.
biggest thing.
Yes.
I mean, I'm charging my phone right behind me right now on a battery pack because this little Pixel
'Cause
2
you're a
doesn't make it all
millennial.
day.
That's what millennials do. They plug in their phone wherever they get.
I mean, I use mine for Android Auto,
Oh, all right.
so I
Safety
need my
first.
dash when I get home.
I would buy this for the 4,000 milliamp hour battery because I
Really?
presume that's going to be like more than a day, right? We don't know. No
That's
one
all.
knows.
You got 6.5. You got almost 6.5 inches of screen there.
Yeah.
That's a
Super
lot of energy.
AMOLED, 2K
516
display.
16 pixels per inch.
I hear that.
And these are
And a cooling
typically
pump.
brighter than the Pixel phones. They
And-
always have
and-
brighter
So you're
screens.
saying
And
that it needs
six to
extra
eight,
battery.
6 to 8 gigabytes of RAM. To
and that
power
you're
it.
playing Fortnite all day because it comes with
kill
your
it.
phone.
So it should be good for what, about 20 minutes?
Yes.
TechCrunch said that they were getting 22 hours.
Really?
Which is good.
That's not bad.
18
That's
is my
Windows
Windows
Yeah.
mode? Just
Yeah.
put it down, put it face down?
No. Actually, the standby mode was great.
Yeah.
No, that was in heavy use. It also has a headphone jack, which to me is I know it sounds old fashioned, but that seems to be something you ought to have in a phone.
Yeah.
Especially one that big.
There's some tablets now that don't come with headphone jacks in the
I
Android
bet you
world.
the next iPad won't have a headphone jack.
Oh, yeah,
Apple's
definitely.
fetishized this.
Oh, yeah.
And Google followed with the Pixel, which baffles me. Apple's excuse was, there's just not enough room in the phone.
Bad Google.
We had to give up a little space.
It's not coming back.
And
Come back. I'm sorry.
yeah, the Pixel 3 will not
No.
have a headphone.
Well,
jack.
Pixel 4, I'm looking at you because
That's not a Pixel 4. I don't want you to get worried,
No,
folks.
no, but for the Pixel 4,
What is
bring
that?
back. This is the Pixel
2.
2
The
XL. But I go
I have a
running in
small
the
one.
rain, and now I can't charge unless I turn the thing the right way.
Oh, yeah. I love it when I'm on Android Auto and it's dying, but I still want to listen to music and I
Yeah.
can't.
Just give us a headphone jack and battery. That's all we need.
I think that you could say that Apple's lying when it says we needed the space. Because Samsung, even on the smaller S9, has found the space
That's fair.
for all this stuff and a headphone jack. They've got
Well,
Face ID and
the
Touch ID.
iPad. I mean, seriously, if you don't have space for a headphone
I don't think
jack,
they're
on
going to
that
take it out of the iPad. They didn't take it out of the new MacBooks. I don't think they're going to take it out of the iPad. I hope not.
They're taking them out of Android tablets, so that's why I'm.
Are they?
Yeah, the latest Huawei tablet that I was looking at doesn't have one. I have to use a special adapter to listen with my headphones.
Does anybody think Bluetooth headphones are better or even as good as wired headphones?
I mean, they're
No,
convenient
no.
because you're not getting tangled in them, but I prefer having a wire. I do.
And I don't want a Type-C headphone or a Lightning headphone. That's not a solution.
No.
There is an existing solution called a headphone jack. It works.
It's worked for many
I
decades.
just sound like an old man. What is there anything else to talk about with this new Note 9? Do you think it's going to be a good selling?
Yeah. This is a really popular line of phones, not to mention that this is totally a veritable workhorse. People who want this phone want it because it does everything. And even students love this phone because it's just so versatile.
Samsung's claiming a 53% faster CPU in the 845. That's a significant jump.
Yeah.
By the way, Sam, here, this thing here, this orange thing, that's whatever the water cooling engine
Oh.
is. Yeah.
So we
That's
have to
it.
find a phone, take it apart after spending $1,200.
I'm sure iFixit has a teardown. I'm sure they do.
Well, are these out yet? Other
No.
than
They're
the
out at
media-
the end of this month.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you can pre-order now. Which one did you pre-order?
I didn't pre-order. I'm just going to.
Jason pre-ordered. Which one
Yeah.
did he pre-order? Do you know?
I'm not sure.
Because I'm paying for it, whichever one.
Yeah, I
Which
have
means
no-
he probably ordered the expensive one. They have a exclusive on Fortnite, not forever, not even for a month. It's I think a few days, right?
It's in the Galaxy App Store, so it's for all Galaxy phones.
Right. Eventually, it will make it to the Play Store.
No.
Fortnite's been a huge.
No.
No, they've
No.
Epic
Ever?
has said it's not. They said they have no.
Oh, that's
intention
right.
of putting it in the
Epic's
Play
going to
Store.
sideload it.
Yeah.
which is really a bad idea. I know
Because-
they're going to tell people
Because
you have
Google's
to.
going to take too much money.
Within a couple hours after they release it, there will be versions all over the web.
it's already all over. It's already. APKs are already flooding.
Loaded with malware.
fake versions of Fortnite.
Yeah.
So if you're going to get it, kids, go to the Epic site and you still
Or just don't get it.
No, you're never gonna get it.
Really? Is that the way to protest this? No.
Yeah.
Don't sideload.
Absolutely.
That's
So you can do it.
news.
That's one of
I
the things-
sideload from apps like Humble Bundle, but I'm supporting Humble Bundle, which
sideload responsibly.
precisely.
Yes.
Yeah.
That should be a T-shirt. I think those would sell.
So you go to security and
Idea out
location, and you have to go to advanced. Where do you? I can't even find it. There's a place. I'm sure
Isn't it
Fortnite
under?
will tell you.
Is it still under security? Or
Yeah,
under
it
developer
should. Yeah, it
options?
should be.
It's a developer option. I hope not. But you have to
Android
turn
29
off.
times.
I'm looking at Android Pie, and I think.
But the nice thing is, at least in recent versions of Android, at least on the Google devices, every time you do that, every time you enable side loading, after you load the app, it reverts back to being locked again.
Smart.
So you have to do it every time.
I agree. That's a good thing. Yeah.
But still, if you download something that's loaded with malware and you side load it, you're still going to be in trouble.
Can you find
Yeah.
it?
I also just upgraded to
It's all
P today. So now I'm trying
All
to
the people
remember.
who are doing nudges and dark patterns are like, you can't find the sideload mode.
Yeah, I don't remember where it was.
I honor Google and Android for doing it because unlike the iPhone, you can at least have the option of getting software from third parties. Fair. Not
And,
Google.
if you
But it
if
is
you
a
want to
risky thing
participate
to
in the
do.
community and run test beta software and things like that,
That's
it's
a good
great for
thing.
that.
Sure.
And
And
I've used
Epic-
it for a lot of stuff over the years.
Epic clearly just doesn't want to pay the 30% to Google.
They do not want to give that 30% up to
Well,
Google.
I think their CEO said
Tim Sweeney.
in some interviews that he didn't want to pay the 30%. And I think he said I think you guys were talking, you and Andy were talking about it on Material, that I guess the cost of developing for Android is so much more that they don't want to pay.
BS.
Well, because they've got to
Do you know how
support
much they make on the Apple Store?
I know, but they've
100.
I'm just
and by
saying,
the way,
this is his argument.
This is a free
because you have
program.
So
People are buying dance moves and skins, and they're spending $150 million a day on the
People
iOS
are buying
store.
dance moves and skins.
For $150 million a day. That means Apple's getting $50 million, but it's not like Epic's $100 million a day. I mean, come on, that's plenty.
I'm not arguing. I'm just telling you what Sweeney's saying is that it costs them more because they've got to support all these different
But
kinds
you're
of devices.
risking your users' safety.
Oh, absolutely. I totally agree. Unless, of course, it's because, Samsung has, put a big chunk of change in their bank
I
account.
would be sure that they did.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Samsung surely is not taking a cut of the virtual.
No, they're
stuff.
probably paying Epic
Yeah.
to have the exclusive.
They used to give away a lot of free stuff a
Okay.
couple of phone launches ago.
Show of hands, chat room. How many of you will buy a Note 9 just because you can get Fortnite on it? Nobody. Nobody is going to buy a Note 9. $1,000 phone because
surprised.
they get a 3-day exclusive.
There's a lot of fans out there.
Hmm.
I wouldn't pay $1,000 for a phone anyway, regardless of whether
Yeah,
it
me
could pay
either. That's
Fortnite.
way too much.
For a loaded Pixel, I would pay $1,000.
Would you? Yeah, I might too.
But
I mean, I guess I would, but I
did
wouldn't be
pay that
happy
for an
about
iPhone.
I want
it.
it to last for a while.
It might take me a while to pay it off, but just being real.
Clearly, Samsung's looking at Apple and saying, well, people spend $1,000 on an iPhone 10.
We're
They
going to do
must
it
be
too.
willing to do that.
Give us $1,000.
Can I just say, companies, stop looking at Apple, period.
Yeah, do your own thing.
Google's new phone's going to have a notch. Stop looking at Apple, period. At least Samsung has the cojones.
I
to
think
not-
I would rather
the
have a
Google
slim
notch-
bezel at the top and no notch.
yeah,
The
no
Google
notch.
notch is because of I would say it's because of the rest of the Android industry. Because everybody, a bunch of OEMs started putting
Yeah, but
notches on
Google
their
is supposed to be
phones.
showing the way, not following
Yeah,
the
but
rest
when
of the industry.
when you have Chinese OEMs who are putting out Android with like a bunch of notches,
Let them put a notch in there.
Sometimes you
do
have
it the way you think is right.
you're saying it shouldn't be on the Pixel.
I'm saying it should
Here's
be
the
on any
question.
phone.
The only question in my mind, is there a technical requirement? Do you have to have a notch?
No.
Apple put the notch there because they have 3 different sensors up there and they wanted to make room for them without shrinking the screen. But you only get the ears.
But if you look at the total area, usable area of the screen, if you put a slim bezel at the top, instead of going right to the edge, if you put a slim bezel, you could fit those sensors in there within a slim bezel area, and then have nice clean rectangle,
Right.
no notch, and no nonsense
What's
for
the
developers,
limit?
working around a notch and all this other
What's the
stuff.
limit you'd pay for a smartphone?
Well,
Let's assume you're going to get 2 years out of it. So you're amortizing that cost over 2 years. $500 a year, $1,000 a year. Would you go that high?
No.
How much do you pay for your laptop?
Well, Google was very nice to let me borrow this one.
Would you? Now that's a Pixelbook, which is
This
really
is a
nice.
Pixelbook.
Starts at $800. Would you get an $800 Pixelbook?
I would, yes, I would now that I've used this and I see.
But that's less than a smartphone, actually. It's less.
Yes,
than
but I use this for everything.
Right,
This
that's
is my
your-
work. I
that's your-
file my work on this. This
But for a
makes
lot
money
of
for
people,
me.
that Note 9 is their work, is their computer, right?
That's also very true. Like my father, who was a contractor for a very long time, his phone was his work. That's how
Right.
he got his work and ran his business.
Okay, there's another question.
Yeah.
Do you need a tablet or a laptop or a desktop if you've got a Note 9? Yeah.
Yeah.
these
Yeah.
keyboards are awfully
You
nice.
You need a keyboard.
I like these keyboards.
love having a
as
keyboard.
somebody who gets paid for the stuff I write,
Yeah.
I
Okay,
want
you guys-
a real keyboard.
If you're a writer, that's obviously because that's your tool. I don't write.
I write, I edit photos, I put together graphics. I
I
do
for the
a lot
right
of-
demographic for this question.
Yeah.
You're all
I mean,
writers.
I think there's a lot of people
Matt
that
codes.
that can get by
Yeah.
with a
Coding is
tablet
writing.
or even a high end phone. But I think probably for all of us at this table, we couldn't do that. Certainly wouldn't want to.
6 kinds of authentication on the Note 9. Iris scan, which actually the S9 does pretty well. Pattern recognition, which is of course not the first choice anybody should have, drawing that little pattern. You're looking at me like you do that, Matt.
I like fingerprint first, but I fall back on a pattern.
I also fall back on a pattern.
But before there was fingerprint, I used a pattern.
Yeah.
But we know it's not very secure. Dvorak was always trying to get into my phone by looking where the grease was on the.
See, you need to get grease all over it.
Well,
So
Yeah.
nobody can tell.
If
Rub
you
it
use
all
your phone
over.
enough, there's so much
Nobody-
grease that's
exactly.
there's no pattern.
Nobody wants to even touch it.
Yeah, I think actually that did stymie him. Face recognition. It's not as good as Apple's, but it's fast. It's pretty fast.
Yeah, it is.
Fingerprint, which everybody I think thinks is the best way. Apple.
Yes,
of
but this
course,
phone is so
should
big,
it.
and the fingerprint on this is so high up
They
that
put it better. They put it instead of next to the
Right.
camera. Let me see if I can find a back of the screen.
But this phone is just so big. I'm just imagining
It
me.
still seems like it would be a long reach.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got little hands.
And I've got a Pixel XL.
I'm talking to
and,
Sam right
yeah.
now.
And well, my hands are not that big. And I can just reach the sensor on my Pixel XL. And that's only a 5.5 inch.
Fingerprint's a
width.
very important part for me.
Yeah.
Especially because I use Android Auto because I touch it to turn on the display.
So when your phone is in the dock and the fingerprint's on the back, that's not an ideal position for it, is it? Because can you get to it?
Oh no, I put the phone like this, and then this part sticks out, the little fingerprint, and then I just go.
You can also, when I'm driving cars that don't have Android Auto support, I use the smart lock and use Bluetooth.
Yep.
When it's connected
Yep.
to the
That's
Bluetooth
nice.
in the car, it
Smart
keeps the
lock
phone
is really
unlocked.
a nice
Yeah.
feature. And then you have password and PIN. And of course, if you really want to be secure, you want to use a long, strong password because that, at least for now, the courts say cannot be extracted from you by Border Patrol or somebody if you want to keep your phone private. Interesting feature
Not officially,
in
anyway.
Android Pie. Yeah, not officially. They could still say you're going to stay at the airport jail for a little while, and nobody wants to be in airport.
Airport jail. Not good.
Is this Android Pie or Oreo? It's Oreo, isn't it?
I think it's Oreo.
Android 8. It's last. What? Huh?
Oh no! This
it
is.
Pie?
I think this is Android Pie. This. Actually, that's a
I
great.
doubt it because
I think it's Oreo.
Samsung has never released a phone with the latest
Actually,
version.
yeah, I think it's coming with Oreo.
And you know why you don't know? Because Samsung doesn't say. Samsung doesn't even like the A word.
It's got the Samsung experience.
It's not.
Or whatever
There's
they're
no
calling
A
it.
word. What? A what? Anhoid? What? What are you talking about? I think it's.
Trying
I
to
think it's
quickly
Oreo.
look it up.
Let
Yeah,
me
I think
show
it's
you a nice
Oreo.
feature though of Pi, which I really like. That is designed for this scenario where you have a fingerprint. I can unlock my phone with my fingerprint. But let's say I'm getting off an airplane and I don't want Border Patrol. There's a new feature called Lockdown. So I pressed and hold the. You have to turn this on. but I press and held the on-off button. And now when I press lockdown before I get off the airplane, not only does it lock the phone, but the fingerprint reader doesn't unlock it.
Oh, cool.
Face recognition doesn't unlock it.
Wow.
The only thing that unlocks it is your long, strong password.
Oh, that's going to be great for runs.
Right. If you lose your phone, whatever.
Well, just like,
I did
you
not
don't
know
want it
that
to
was there.
turn on
It's
while
turned
it's
on
in
now.
your pocket.
You found
Oh,
it.
I
It's
hate
in
it
a
when that
security
happens.
setting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's the other thing I like about recent versions of last couple of versions of Android is they have the search in the
Right.
settings.
Right.
So I just search
for
lockdown.
lockdown. You'll find it. Yeah. It is off by default, but I think that is a nice feature.
That's fantastic. I've been wondering, like, often when you go for a run, the phone will turn on in your pocket, and then you have like a bunch of purple pictures.
And then you start to feel the heat in your little backpack,
you're
and you're
like,
like,
how did
"Why
I-
is this burning?
I've
My
turned-
phone display is
yeah.
on."
Or your flashlight, you know it.
Yes.
I've been really wondering why I have so many purple pictures. Now I think I know.
You just install the purple picture eater app.
Hot dog or not? Purple picture or not? That's what we need. I could write that. I'm very proud of myself. I wrote a Sudoku solver in Racket this week. It only took me 2 weeks.
That's
great. Well, it's part of this class I took. I don't know why I'm mentioning it. It's just I feel like I'm telling you,
It
Matt.
feels
'cause
good to.
It
like,
does feel good to
get
do
all
things.
Yeah,
the
to,
things.
It
well,
does.
to be learning new stuff
It really
all the
does.
time.
It makes me feel so
and
good
it's
about
kind of
myself.
cool when you enter. You can enter in it. I have to do now the UI so that you can enter it in a nice way instead of typing all the numbers. But you can enter in a Sudoku puzzle. I even did the hardest Sudoku puzzle out there. So a normal hard one, it takes a second. But the hardest one out there I found on the Sudoku wiki took 25 minutes. But it solved it.
Wow.
Yeah.
So the machine took 25 minutes to solve it.
Yeah.
Was that on the
Interesting.
iMac Pro?
On an iMac Pro.
Interesting.
It got really hot.
Could have mined a Bitcoin.
Yeah,
The
especially in
reason
this
is
summer.
It's a brute force solver, so the way it now you understand.
Just try everything.
It literally the way
Yeah.
it does it builds a tree of all the possible solutions. Now it's smart enough to eliminate invalid positions right away, so you don't have to build. If you get an invalid position, you're not going to build a tree that
Not brute
branch.
force. That's pretty good.
It's a little smart. So it it looks at the position. It comes up with 9 next positions, eliminates the invalid ones. Then for each of those 9, comes up with 9. So on a normal puzzle, it pretty much goes through that tree fast. But on a hard puzzle, tens of millions of positions.
Still faster than us.
It's a lot faster
minutes.
than me. It was the hardest. It was literally they said the hardest Sudoku puzzle ever designed. I'm just proud of it. Proud
Good
of
job,
it.
Leo.
Way to go.
I used no AI.
Nicely done.
I don't even have any.
No AI. That's like
AI.
that's.
Is that allowed
All right,
anymore?
I'm going to ask Matt Cutts. You're here in studio with us. Finally, somebody who can legitimately answer this question. Because you see the phrase AI, it's like blockchain now.
Yeah.
It's applied as a marketing term to everything. Everything has artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
And I think as an antidote to that, we need a real definition so that we know if something really does have artificial intelligence. And I think a lot of things are like that Sudoku solver looks intelligent, but it's just a computer program.
Right.
That's clearly not AI.
That's only a very broad definition.
And
of
we
AI,
should mention
yes.
Matt worked at Google. One of the early employees of Google, worked at Google for years, knows a lot about this stuff. What makes something AI?
Oh man, AI is such a laden term that they didn't teach it when I went to grad school, because at the time they were like, artificial intelligence is a complete waste of time.
You went to grad
LOL.
school in the winter, the AI
The AI
winter.
winter.
Because
And-
we were all excited about AI back in the 60s.
Right.
When everybody thought, oh, computers are going to be smart. We've got Lisp. Now everything will be... And it turned out it was really hard. And so there was an AI winter, and that's when you
Yeah.
were in school.
And so it's interesting, a lot of people have rebranded it as machine learning. They're like,
Google prefers that term.
yeah, they're like, we don't want to have the baggage of AI. And machine learning is,
Define machine learning.
well, maybe you have a data set and then you're able to extrapolate into new situations. And so maybe it takes a lot of time to train, but when you're done, you can do a human-like task that you would not expect a computer to be able to do.
I kind of characterize it that no human told it how to do it. That the computer, in effect, wrote its own program, figured out.
Up to a point. I mean, there has to be human involvement, in setting up the initial model, and there's human involvement in tuning it. I've spent a lot of time in the last couple of years talking with a lot of the people working on autonomous vehicles, and there's a lot of, especially deep neural nets. Yeah, and there's a lot of different flavors of machine learning.
Yeah.
And the one that's most commonly used for things like object recognition are deep neural nets. And the thing that has made it practical that you couldn't have done this 20 or 30 years ago is these highly parallelized GPUs, where you've got hundreds of cores running in parallel, tackling the problem. And the power, and in fact, it's funny. I was just working on a column the other day, and I was talking to Brian Selesky, he's the CEO of Argo AI, and he led the software side of the team that won the DARPA Urban Challenge in 2008 from Carnegie Mellon.
Back in those days, it was a self-driving vehicle, autonomous vehicle challenge.
Yes. Yeah. And so, I asked him, what was the computing power of the system that they had in there? And this was a Chevy Tahoe that had a rack of servers in the back.
And you remember the early days of the ARPA Grand Challenge where the car would go 10 feet and drive off the road.
The motorcycle would just fall over immediately. Yeah.
So they had,
it's a hard thing.
Yeah. So they had 10 blade computers in there, with each one with a 2.1 gigahertz Core 2 Duo in there. Okay. And I was looking up some benchmarks on that chip. It was about 180 MIPS on the Whetstone. So 180 million instructions per second.
For each of them?
For each of them. Okay. So roughly, depending on what you were doing, how it was configured. 1.8 billion instructions.
Oh, so gigaflops.
Gigaflops.
Yeah.
Today, NVIDIA, their latest chip that they're shipping to customers now for automated driving tasks is called Xavier. It does 30 teraflops.
Oh, it's a huge difference.
The next generation one that they've just started sampling.
30,000 or 15,000 better than that old system in 2008.
The next one that they just started shipping samples about a month and a half ago. It's called Drive Pegasus. It's 320 teraflops.
Wow.
In a board about the size of a laptop.
Wow.
You could probably cook an egg on it, too.
Right. Yeah, it's about 400 watts.
So it's really processing. Well, it's also big memory, right? Because you have big data sets that you need to analyze.
Yeah. Well, and there's also a distinction, at least in machine learning, about supervised versus unsupervised data. So supervised is stuff that has been labeled so that you can learn, here are all the cats.
Right.
Whereas unsupervised is just you sort of let it free on YouTube or wherever.
So that's the example, the difference between Deep Blue, which learned to become the best chess-playing computer in the world in a supervised form. They gave it games. And AlphaGo, which was the Google intelligence that learned to play Go by playing itself.
Right. Well, and that's the perfect example because there's one called AlphaGo Zero that's another generation that basically
They didn't tell it anything, just the rules.
Anything. That's right. You're just like, boom, go to town and see what you figure out.
And it's playing better than any human alive.
It is, and better than the previous versions of AlphaGo.
And Go is very hard. Go is a pattern recognition problem that is extremely, if you think Sudoku solving is hard, Go is really hard. And so that's very impressive. So I would definitely say that's not merely machine learning, that's artificial intelligence. Yes? If something can play...
It's still a constrained problem set, though.
Well, of course, it's not general artificial intelligence. So that's the next step up. So there's domain-specific artificial intelligence, like AlphaGo Zero, which is learning a very limited, problem, versus how far off is general AI? That is a long way off.
It's kind of like fusion. It's always been 20 years down the road.
Of course, in 2008, when they were doing the DARPA Grand Challenge. Did they I doubt they anticipated anything that could do, what did you say, 30 teraflops? Or
30 teraflops for the Xavier, 320 for Drive Pegasus.
I doubt they anticipated that in 10 years.
Well, and whether something is considered artificial intelligence or machine learning, the fact is now you can have, best-in-class speech recognition, amazing speech synthesis where people can't tell whether it's a human or not, recognition tasks that are pretty phenomenal. Like things you would not have considered doable 10 years ago are in the realm of possibility now.
On the other hand, yesterday I was reading an article, I think it was from the New York Times about, or maybe it was the Wall Street Journal, about Watson. You remember back in 2011, IBM announced that they were going to use Watson for oncology, for cancer research.
Everything, yeah.
Well,
That's
they spent
Deep Blue.
They spent six years and spent billions of dollars on this, and it's been a total flop. There's been no improvement in outcomes for
patients. In fact, it misdiagnosed a
Yeah.
number of situations that could have killed a real patient.
Yeah.
I hope they had a real oncologist doing the work as well. But isn't that? It's hard, isn't it? It's hard.
Super hard, and not everybody always knows the principled way to make things better. Like you can think about how are you going to design a machine learning algorithm to play a video game, but some of that is heuristic, some of that is hacks. to do it from first principles is really difficult.
Very difficult. And self-driving cars, that's very difficult. But at least
the stuff is still as much progress as we've made on it in the last 10 years. These systems are still actually pretty brittle in terms of, being able to trying to understand things that they've never seen before.
Yeah.
They still have a hard time with that, to go beyond what they've been trained on. And when you're talking about automated driving systems, out in the real world and driving, you encounter stuff that you've never seen before all the time. And those are the ones that cause the accidents.
Yeah.
We're going to take a break. When we come back, there were a couple of other things Samsung announced at their Note 9 event, a new watch and a new Bixby Home Assistant.
You mean the cauldron?
Yes.
The cauldron.
It is a cauldron.
But before we do that, let's talk about our sponsor, Rocket Mortgage from Quicken Loans. Rocket Mortgage is the best, simplest, fastest way to apply for a mortgage. And Sam, I hope you don't mind, but I'm going to mention what you told me before the show, because you just bought a house, right?
Yeah, last year we bought a house, and to give you an idea of how simple it was, I was out of town on business. My wife called me and said, "Hey, can you check and see what would the payments be on this?" And so I was just going in to check, and like within 5 minutes, I had what the payment would be. Before I even had a chance to put in the TWIT promo code.
Okay, so kids,
I was looking at a mortgage approval letter.
Isn't that awesome? So Rocket Mortgage is not only fast, it is the best way to buy a home. One of the things that's challenging about home purchase, it's probably the largest purchase you'll ever make. You're writing a massive check, and it's scary. It's anxiety. It just basically in the nature of it, it's an anxious process. But now that interest rates are starting to go up, it's even more anxious because now there's pressure to get it done fast before rates go up even more. So the folks at Quicken Loans have come up with a really good solution. They call it the power buying process. And this is what Sam was talking about. You go to rocketmortgage.com/twit2, rocketmortgage.com/twit and the number 2, and you get the account set up. And this is very quick. The initial pre-qualification takes maybe 10 minutes at most. It's called pre-qualified approval. What you do is you answer a few simple questions. You don't have to get paperwork. You don't have to find out what your bank statements were from 2018 or 2012 or 2023 or whatever. You just go to the website, answer a couple of questions. They have trusted relationships with all the financial institutions. Once you give them permission, they get the information they need to verify your income, your assets, and credit, and they give you pre-qualified approval. That's within a few minutes. The next step is a loan officer comes in, reviews it, and gives you, within 24 hours, verified approval. Now, you've got a letter in your hand that is essentially saying they've got the loan. That gives you the strength of a cash buyer. This is important when you're buying a house. When the seller sees your offer, if you've got this verified approval, the seller treats you like a cash buyer. Puts you right at the front of the line. If somebody else is saying, well, I'm going to get the loan, I'm pre-approved, they're going to still say, oh, no, that's fine, but I don't want any contingencies. I want the verified approval guy. Then once you're verified, you get the next step, which is called rate shield approval. And this is the thing that really takes the anxiety out of it. They lock your rate up for up to 3 months while you shop. It cannot go up. I don't care if the rates in the real world go up. Yours won't. If the real world rates go down, your rate will go down, yeah. But they cannot go up. You win either way. This is exactly what you'd expect from a customer-focused company. America's largest mortgage lender for a reason. The best, #1 in customer satisfaction, 8 years in a row, according to J.D. Power. Quicken Loans and Rocket Mortgage. It's easy to get started. Sam, if you just go to rocketmortgage.com/twit2, it doesn't matter if you use anything else. They'll know you saw it here. That's all that matters. Rocketmortgage.com/twit2. Now some legalese. Rate shield approval is only valid on certain 30-year purchase transactions. Additional conditions or exclusions may apply based on Quicken Loans data in comparison to public data records. Equal housing lender. That one's pretty important. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLSconsumeraccess.org number 3030. Here's what you need to remember. Here's what you need to do. Go to rocketmortgage.com/twit2 and begin the process and get the anxiety out of home buying. Make it actually fun. Did you get a nice house?
We did. We got a great house.
See?
1957, mid-century modern.
Oh,
That's the fun of it. Once it's fun.
And it cost a tiny fraction of what a comparable house around this area would be.
Oh, where'd you buy?
In Michigan.
Oh. Well,
2,100 square feet, $220,000.
Michigan's beautiful, actually.
Oh, it is.
Except in the winter.
hey, at least we don't have fires and
Yeah, no kidding.
earthquakes and
No kidding.
floods. Yeah.
So I'm again going to call in Flo.
I was here on the
'cause
Brown Coast. I was driving up here.
I did not want to get up at 8 in the morning or whatever it was to watch the Samsung event on Tuesday. Thank you and Jason Howell for doing that.
I did that for you.
I actually think my Samsung Galaxy S3 Frontier watch is a really nice smartwatch.
A lot of people really like the Gear watches. They're really popular. I think just from my own eyes, I would think they were a little more popular than the Android Wear watches.
It's a
just
round
because,
face like Android Wear.
They're all
but
Tizen too, right?
Yeah.
They're not Android. Exactly. They're Tizen.
They have some
which-
other apps though. Some
They have
that
apps, but
Android
they don't have
doesn't.
all the apps
Yeah.
that an Android Wear watch would
Yeah.
have. But it does the notifications thing. It has a very nice bezel that turns. Did they keep the bezel control on here?
I'm
We don't know because we didn't get one.
Yeah.
I was told we had Sherilyn Lowe on yesterday from Engadget, and I think she said it does. So actually, it's kind of unclear. Nobody has it yet. They are claiming this is a big difference: 6-day battery life. And these watches will now have LTE built in. The problem with LTE in a watch is it can make the watch very bulky. Although Apple's Series 3 smartwatches,
These still
Do
looked
you
a
get-
little bulky.
do they?
Do you,
They did.
do you get the 6 days with the LTE, or is it 6 days or LTE?
Oh, that's a good question. So there's two sizes. There's a 46 millimeter watch. That's the one with 6 days. But that's a big.
That's the one with 6 days. Of course, that's the
46
one with 6
millimeters,
days. That
right.
has the room for that.
42 millimeters, which is the size of the large Apple Watch, is 4 days on standard usage. And you're right. I bet you LTE cuts that down considerably. The advantage of LTE is if your phone is not nearby, you still can see that somebody's called. You still can get data, stuff like that. But
Does this have one of the new Qualcomm processors that they
that's what
announced
my
recently?
guess is. Yeah. And don't forget, you're going to have to pay for it. I pay $10 extra a month to T-Mobile for LTE on my
That's pretty
iPhone,
standard with
Apple
most
Watch.
carriers. It's like $5 to $10 for an extra accessory.
Right. So not a huge bunch of stuff in the new gear. They call it the Galaxy Watch now. Does have Bixby.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so
Does have
in
Bixby.
Samsung's defense, they have made Bixby a lot more conversational, or at least that's what is being reported, is that Bixby is more of the experiential assistant, whereas, Google or
past-
Amazon is the more...
Bixby was merely designed to automate your phone, basically.
Yes,
You gotta
do
just
stuff for you.
Do stuff on the phone.
Yeah, it's still doing that. That's
But
really
now
what
it can
it's
do
for.
more than that.
Yes, sure.
So
maybe.
it was more of a voice control interface
Exactly.
before,
Yeah.
as
It didn't-
opposed to an assistant.
It
wasn't
And
like
now,
s- like
now it
Siri.
actually has some assistant
Yeah.
function. So
Yes.
so they incorporated was it that what was the guys that originally did Siri, their new company that
Yeah,
Samsung bought,
Viv.
yeah.
Yes.
They went and started
Did they
Viv and
incorporate
then
that in
Samsung
there?
bought them. So I guess this is Viv. I guess Viv must be now. Samsung had made contradictory statements about Viv. For a while, we thought Viv would be a separate product from Bixby, but it only makes sense to make Bixby do everything that Google Assistant can do, plus automate the phone. They have apparently added more conversational features, but nobody has it yet.
Yeah.
So we don't know yet. They also
Bixby
announced
with Viv built in.
now with Viv.
Bixby.
Vixby.
Bixby.
No, please, no. They also announced something no one will buy,
Well, we don't
which
know
is
that
the
yet.
cauldron.
We don't know that yet.
The Galaxy home speaker with Bixby.
The Galaxy Home Cauldron.
I've just seen a picture of it for the first time.
You
Yeah.
haven't seen it before.
Right. It's
Oh man, it looks a
Yeah.
little
so this
like
is
a lava
supposed to
lamp.
compete with the HomePod. This is supposed to compete with the
Okay.
HomePod and the Google Home Max.
Okay.
So it's about
a
music.
performance speaker that also has Bixby built in.
How
And
big is it?
Spotify. Look, they brought
And Viv?
Daniel Ek
Does it
on
have any
stage.
Viv?
Does it have Viv? We don't know. They're not talking about Viv.
Yeah. In fact, they're not really talking much about it. So we know that it'll be between like $300 and $400, which is what about the HomePod. I'm just
Samsung
This is
owns
so-
Harman Kardon, though.
no. I'm going to start laughing. It's very
Samsung has
sorry.
some speakers.
Yeah.
You know,
chops.
No, yeah, I
I've
mean,
seen-
with
there was
with
this product
Harman,
called the
they've got a
Q
bunch of
that
brands
was,
that do
you
some
know,
really good
right.
audio. But then why not just bring something like this out under
Yeah.
one of those brands?
I mean,
Sure.
Samsung owns JBL and Harman Kardon,
Right.
two
Yeah.
very big brands.
Okay.
So
and Harman's
wish
got
them well.
Ravel and JBL.
Yeah,
and
those are
a whole-
those
there's a
Rebel
whole-
speakers are the best speakers you can get. I mean,
Yeah.
there are many mixing studios. But I don't think this is going to be the Galaxy Home Revel.
It's supposed to do spatial sound like the HomePod and the Google Home Max. So it's supposed to adjust to the acoustics in the room.
It's such a
We
Me
all
Too.
know works so very well.
Such a Me Too product. But ultimately, people are going to say, well, okay, fine, but I can get Siri in my HomePod and I can get Google Assistant in my Google Home Max. I don't want Bixby. What has Bixby ever done for
What's
me?
Bixby done for me lately?
You know what they're going to do with this product. So apparently they're not going to talk more. They're not going to talk much about it until November, according to The Verge. They said they'll talk more about it in November
Okay.
at their developers conference. But I'm betting that they're going to just give this out as a free accessory when you buy a Galaxy phone to just like immediately put it into your household.
Kind of like
For the
Google did with the Home Mini.
Yes. I'm probably far-reaching.
If you,
it is a pretty
if you look
expensive
at the
product.
Google Store page, you get a free Home Mini. you know.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's not as cheap as the Mini. I mean, those Minis are...
No,
It's a race. It's a race.
But yeah, it is a race.
To which, frankly, Samsung is a late entry, and Apple is
extremely tardy to the party.
and Apple's falling behind. It's really, in my opinion, a two-horse race between Amazon and Google.
I agree. As far as assistants go.
Yeah.
As
All right.
far as speakers go.
there's you've got a lot of capabilities with those two systems between Alexa, between the Amazon and the Google stuff. You've got a lot of capabilities with skills and whatever Google calls theirs, I forget now. But the ability to do all kinds of different functionality and tie it into other devices.
Yeah, you've got a whole developer ecosystem on those two platforms,
Right.
Amazon and...
and now
but then
HomeKit,
again,
too.
Samsung's got smart things, so maybe if they integrate
They
that
do
in
have
there.
smart things, which is a very big part, which is
Right.
going to also be a very big part of this.
Of Bixby?
A big push, I would imagine. Yes. Because everything has got smart things on it. I mean, you've got security systems and you've got sensors of all sorts that you can hook up, and you've got all these third-party devices that you can hook up. I mean, I am actually surprised that this is not a smart home controller with Zigbee and Z-Wave built in, so you could just go ahead and have it be like the universal portal to your house, the Samsung portal. It connects
Have
your
they actually
TV
said
to
that
your
it wasn't
phone.
going to be?
We don't know exactly,
Yeah.
because
So it may
who
turn
knows
out-
what we find out in November, right?
Yeah.
Maybe it will open a portal in your house. I mean, it looks like a cauldron.
Yeah.
You reach in and you
It
pull
does
out
look like
a
something
Note
from the
9
video
and-
game Portal,
Yeah.
It's magical.
and it has peg legs
Peg legs.
peg legs that
I'm starting to think, maybe it's just me, that there's starting to be a backlash against these voice-enabled assistants. That I was all high on the Echo. It's been out for 3 years now. But eventually you kind of get to the end of the line where you go, that's nice, but I'm not going to memorize 2,000 tasks.
No, you don't want the
And
skills.
It's too much work.
which is why you get the Google Assistant.
Same problem.
And then you don't need to memorize
So,
tasks.
Too much work.
So there's one use case. I did not use my Google Home for a long time, and I found one good one, which is I take my phone and I no longer have it in my bedroom. I don't use it for my alarm, which is what I used to do. So now when I go to bed, I say, all right, set my alarm for whatever.
Do you ask it to play classical music? Because that's how I wake up every morning.
No, how do you change the alarm?
All you have to say is play classical music, wake me
At
up
8
at
a.m..
whatever, at 8 a.m. And it'll do it for you based on whatever your default is.
That's nice.
Pro tip for everyone out
That
there.
is actually something you can't do with the Echo.
Is that the sort of thing you can learn by watching Know How?
Yes, absolutely. Every Thursday at 11 a.m. here on the Twit Network. Me and Ming Maroney.
I guess I shouldn't mind people plugging shows that are on my network.
I've been plugging that show also on my
Thank
other
you
podcast.
for plugging it. I'm
very proud of it.
Very
Me
much
and Ming
thank
Maroney.
you. It is.
Anyway.
It's a very good show. And so you're kind of the IoT expert, thanks to that.
Ish.
Do you feel like you're burnt
Relative to
out?
the rest
I feel
of
like
us.
I'm burnt out.
I don't have any smart stuff other than an
I have it
assistant.
everywhere,
Yeah.
but all I ever use it to do is set alarms, set timers, play music.
Yeah.
What's the
So-
weather, maybe? And play podcasts. I do
Yeah.
use it for that, and I love that because I think that's
Yeah.
the best thing that ever happened to podcasts. But that's about it.
Yeah, I use it for everything. My whole
Do
house
you
is
ask it
automated.
factual questions?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah. Or if my husband needs help in the kitchen, he'll ask for a quick little recipe check. And now that we have the Lenovo Smart Display, he can actually cook along with the Lenovo Smart Display and the new Assistant, the way it is integrated there. It is
I think you're an outlier.
so, and I agree. So last night
She
I
does this
had-
for her job, after
Yeah,
all.
I totally agree.
Because frankly, when I see, even on Know How, people trying to talk to their smart
Yeah.
devices, it's mostly like an exercise
Leo's
in
watched all the
frustration.
B-roll from Know
It's
How.
like so frustrating.
of Megan and
Nothing
I
ever works.
trying to get stuff to work in the studio, which is why it's not always a live show. That's why.
Yeah, but I don't want you to fool people either. If the stuff doesn't work,
No,
you don't edit out all
we're very
the...
honest about
Yeah.
it.
I think the truth is people know it. It's
Yeah.
And it's like home automation has also been a big disappointment.
So last night I had my friends over. We went to the Apple Festival yesterday in Sebastopol, which was lovely.
By the way, that's not Macintoshes.
No.
It's
It's
Gravenstein.
Gravenstein's apples, which are grown in Sebastopol. And they spent the night last night, and I have a Google Home in there, of course, and I told them how to turn off the lights. I said, just say turn off the guest room lights, because and I heard my friend say it no less than 7 times last night, like just trying. He was just like, hey, G, do this. And he was like, I'm sorry, I can't understand you right now. Hey, G, do this. And I was just sitting downstairs hearing this, and I just felt like the worst host. And I said, if it makes you uncomfortable, here's the mute button. Like, there's no cameras
And then
in here.
I
You're
have
fine.
all of them.
Yeah.
And last night I said, hey, G, turn off the lights. G did. But the Amazon, for reasons I have I don't know why, just said, I don't know what you're talking about. And you feel like there are stupid things in your house.
Oh, yeah. My
trying
friend
to
got
make your
annoyed.
life worse.
I had to shut off Alexa last night, because my friend kept triggering it by accident because I'm testing the security system with it built in.
all the time.
And she's like, can you please turn that off? Because it kept interrupting our conversation.
So there's some useful things. And I have to say, I am one of the people who uses my Amazon Echoes for shopping. I will say when I'm shaving and I'm out of shaving cream, Amazon buy more shaving cream. It's a little bit of a rigmarole, but it's a lot easier than going to this computer and doing all that. And it does eventually buy it. It turns out Information had a article based on, I don't know where it got this information, but based on their own leaks, I guess, that only about 2% of the people with devices that use Amazon Echo have made a purchase in 2018. This is according to 2 people briefed on the company's
2%.
internal figures. Now, Amazon has sold 50 million devices, so 2% is not shabby, but it's not anywhere near the level you would expect. Is that a failure for the Amazon Echo?
Considering that, they are probably selling that thing, at or near cost. They probably don't have a whole lot of margin on those devices, especially for the dots, which are the ones that probably have the most volume.
Right.
They were probably counting on, generating a lot more sales as a result of it.
I wonder how Google does with its Google Shopping, because it actually does
You can shop
third-party
on Google?
shopping. Yes, you can. You can set it up.
That's
to
how
shop.
it does, right
Yep.
there. You can
Yep.
shop.
You
on
can shop
Google?
from Costco,
But you get Walmart,
Target,
Target.
Walgreens.
Yeah.
You need toilet paper from Costco, you can order it. But here's the thing: I've never ordered anything through the Google Home because
I'm afraid.
I have my ways.
Just gonna show up somewhere else.
What if it sends me the wrong brand? I'm so brand loyal.
No, but that's one thing
Charmin versus-
Amazon does. It says, well, in your purchase history, you've bought a lot of Charmin. Would you like me to buy some more of that? Huh. And then you can say yes or no. When you have the Lenovo, it'll show you on the screen what your purchases are, and you can
Which
say,
is very helpful. I like that visual.
But how do you set it up? I mean, that's the problem. Reason I
Through
haven't
the
used the
app on the
Google
phone.
one. How does it know? Does it buy it from Target or Walmart or Walgreens? How does it know? You set that up?
You tell it
ahead of time.
It says if you ask it for something and it goes, "Oh, I found this here at Target for $4.99." And so
Now I want to try this when I get home.
You know what
We can
works
try it
without
now.
fail? Getting up and just flipping the light switch off.
Buy me a pony.
100% of the time.
my
Never
God.
once fails me.
Oh, no. I said, buy me a pony. It said, I found this video, spider bait. Buy me a pony on YouTube. Okay, so let's see. What
shop
else?
for toilet paper. Okay. So here's what I found on Google
Shop
Express
for
for
toilet
delivery
paper.
to my house, which we're not going to show on the camera because this is my address.
First, do you want a quick run through of how this works?
Yes. Sure.
Great. You can buy snacks, beverages, household supplies, and more from stores like Walmart, Costco, and Target on Google Express. The more you shop,
realized I
the
told
more
you all the same
personalized
things
your
used to
product
say
results
to
will be. Now, most merchants offer free delivery of orders over
Oh,
$35.
nice.
When your
Okay.
order qualifies for free delivery, I'll let you know, but you can check out whenever you want.
I'm checked out now. Continue shopping.
Maybe you
Glad you like it.
Okay, that
All
was
right.
really nothing
It
expensive.
does work. It does work.
I have to set it up, I guess.
Unfortunately, this Scott Comfort Plus tissue, toilet tissue, is not available in my area.
Don't buy Charmin. It's old growth forest they chop down. To make
It is?
that. Yeah. Just
I
so
buy
you can have-
Kirkland Signature,
You
Costco,
want the-
$13, lasts half a year.
You know what we did? We bought toilets that wash your butt for you.
Oh, the French way.
Bidets
Or
are
the Japanese,
Japanese,
way.
yeah.
All sorts of
Yeah.
ways.
We got the Totos.
You're right. Bidets are French.
Yeah, we got the. Well, it's like a bidet. It's a Japanese
Yeah.
version of the bidet. But I don't know why I brought that up. Anyway, okay.
It's a
all right.
wonderful luxury. You never
It's
need
a
to buy
wonderful-
toilet paper, and
It
it's not
does.
as wasteful.
You know what? We used to get a lot of toilet paper.
Yeah.
It's really cut down on the
Yeah.
toilet paper.
Yeah.
You still might want to use it because your butt's wet.
Yeah.
So,
See the logic in that?
Yeah.
so you still might.
But you
want
don't
a
need
little-
as much.
You use it for blotting.
Yes.
Today on This Week in Toilets.
But the other thing is, okay, now if you're using less toilet paper, you don't actually have to buy it as frequently.
Yep.
So why not just go to the store a couple times a year?
Right.
Get out of the house.
Right.
Get some fresh
That's
air.
why I love Costco. You get samples.
Yeah.
You know.
Some people
So
like
you
to
don't
shop.
you don't
I
need
like
a
to
shop.
assistant
Yeah.
to shop.
I just
with.
want to get stuff.
Yeah. See, I love
Amazon has launched, and I don't understand this because I saw this is also, I think, a Waymo thing. Waymo in Phoenix. You call the store, you order online, and then a Waymo comes to
with
you,
Walmart.
takes you to the Walmart. You pick up the groceries, and the Waymo takes you back.
Why not just have the car go to the Walmart?
Why do
Not just
why do
Instacart.
I have to go to Walmart?
Instacart.
Why do I have to go? Amazon has launched the same thing, grocery pickup at Whole Foods for Prime members. You have to go, though, and get it. So I guess it's for places where they don't do delivery. Prime members
Or
can order
you know,
groceries.
if you're in a hurry, you're on your way
Yeah.
home. I mean, that one I can understand. That one makes
Oh,
sense.
you're on your way home.
Yeah, you want to just pop in,
Yeah.
grab
I do
your
that
order,
with
and
Maybe the
continue
Waymo,
on.
you have the Waymo pick you up at work, pick up the Walmart stuff.
Yeah,
then
that's
it takes you
actually a
home?
scenario that could work.
I would love to have that in the city. Pick me up at Whole Foods in the city, take me to the BART station so I could get back home to the suburbs.
There you go.
Or just forget the BART, take me home.
That would be very expensive for me.
Well, one of the other
Waymo.
stranger deals that Waymo announced the other week, though, along with the Walmart deal, was with Avis. Now they already had a deal with Avis to have Avis do the service and maintenance on their fleet of autonomous vehicles.
Interesting.
Great idea. 'Cause, I mean, somebody's got to maintain those vehicles, but they're also doing, if you're going to rent a car from Avis, Waymo car will come and pick you up,
This
take you
is
to the
brilliant.
Avis office.
I love
But
that.
if you're in a Waymo vehicle, why do you need to rent a car from Avis? Why not just take the Waymo
Well,
vehicle?
because the
wherever you
Waymo
need?
isn't available
They
to
don't
take
want
you
you
that
to
far.
go on long rides. They
They don't want to be the
It's
liable
pretty
for
clear,
that.
and this is only available in Arizona where Waymo is
Yeah,
doing
well, that's where they're
testing.
planning to launch by the end of this
Right,
year.
it's
It's pretty clear that the real point of this, and we know Google does this all the time, is to gather data. They're giving you free
Right.
rides. And I think not an insignificant benefit of this is just to get people used to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But did you see that they're also taking people to metro or like mass transportation on rail?
That,
Like,
and that's something that
pretty
all these
clever.
companies are going to have to figure out how to do. Like
It's public relations as much as anything else, right?
it's public relations, but it's also, I mean, cities need to do this, working with all these different companies that are developing automated vehicles to coordinate these services so that, you use the right ride for every trip.
Right.
So you utilize mass transit on the high density routes, where there's a lot of people going. It makes the most economic sense there. And then, you have the autonomous vehicles acting as first mile, last mile, feeding into that and taking you on to other destinations. And also for these other kinds of applications like delivering food and whatever else. For the economics to work for these services, they need to have these vehicles running 24 hours a day, generating revenue, doing something all the time. You don't want them sitting around. It's just like an airplane, an airliner, where it doesn't make money when it's sitting on the tarmac. It makes money when it's flying between
Waymo
destinations.
bought tens of thousands of these Chrysler Pacific vans.
Yeah,
right?
they've ordered up to 62,000 of them over the next 3 years.
And now they're going to buy the Jaguar I-Pace.
Yeah, and 20,000 Jaguars and 60,000.
Why
That's
Jaguar?
80,000 vehicles. Where are these going to be?
They're for the Jaguars will be for a more premium service. So
And it's their
for the-
electric.
Yeah,
Right,
so
so-
the Pacificas will be for more for the more mainstream
Right,
service,
right.
and because it's a minivan, you can fold down some of the seats or take seats out.
That sounds
and use
like
them
they're
for
really
carrying
close
packages.
to having Waymo be public.
Yeah,
You
no,
don't
it's-
buy those
Yeah,
cars
no,
unless you're
they've
ready
said they're
do
going
it.
to launch in Phoenix, in the Phoenix area before the end of this year, expand into California next year,
Wow.
and then a few other cities over the next
Do
couple
you know
of years.
where in California?
Probably the Bay Area first. So
It's coming.
Here we go. It's coming.
Will these cars be the ones that don't have safety drivers?
that's the plan. Yeah.
They'll just you'll get an empty vehicle.
Yep.
So weird.
Will they
They've
take
been
the-
they've been testing them that way in Chandler,
Yeah.
Arizona for several months.
Will they
now.
take
Yeah.
the steering wheel brake and
No.
They're not going to take those out.
No, those they're not modifying the vehicles to that extent at this time.
But they're
so-
probably disabled because otherwise I might be tempted to get in the car and drive away.
But it knows where
Feeling
you
that
go.
way that
Yeah,
day.
well, they're
By the way,
they're still mechanically connected, but if someone tries to get into the driver's seat, then the system will shut the vehicle down. Like without authorization. So if a passenger climbs
No
up into the driver's seat,
authorization. No
then
authorization.
then they'll
System
bring the
shutting
vehicle
down.
to a safe.
you're
safe
in a
stop.
Johnny cab. That's the one I hear.
So if
all
I
the
get into a
time.
Waymo vehicle, I'm having a bad day. Could I just go, driver, keep going? Like,
Sure.
just keep the meter running.
Just tell it where you just keep telling it
Just
new
drive in
destinations.
circles
Just
around.
do some loops.
Yeah. Yeah, just
I wonder
Wow.
how people are going to react when this car with nobody in it pulls up. And
Yeah, it's
apparently
gonna
so
change the
far.
dynamics of-
Apparently so far in Phoenix, it's been pretty good. You know, they've.
would
been,
you jump in?
I have.
Knowing what you know, would you jump in?
In Phoenix, where it's hot, yes, there's air conditioning
Okay.
in
Would
one.
you
But
jump
the-
in?
Heck yeah.
It depends on the situation and where it is. I mean, there's a lot of places where I would not trust the technology yet. I mean,
If it's raining or
Like-
snowing, I would. Be more
yeah. I mean, if it's bad
Yeah,
weather,
raining and
you know,
snowing, yeah.
You know, even
Windy
even in a
hills.
place like San Francisco, I'm not sure that I would yet trust any of these systems without
There's too many
having a safety
variables.
driver.
There's
Yeah.
too many variables in a city like
I mean,
San
even
Francisco.
even riding around Mountain View in one of the Waymo
You know
vehicles
what I
a couple
get in?
months ago.
If they
you know,
did
it
have
was-
a mannequin,
there were still times when
that's with a little driver cap
needs
that's head turned around
somebody
said,
in there.
"You're in a Johnny cab." I would actually get in.
They
there.
could have like that as an Easter egg. Like
Yeah.
1 out of every 100 will be a Johnny Cab.
Then I would get in.
Wait, what about that game show where you get into the cab and then you have to answer questions until
Taxi
you
cab
get
confessions, all kinds.
Or
of
the
Yeah.
or the Uber driver, Uber Lyft driver, who was secretly recording
Oh my
people and posting it on YouTube.
Yeah.
Well, this
How
is
angering.
another thing about these vehicles.
They got cameras.
There will be cameras
Hell
inside
yeah.
all these vehicles. They will be monitoring what's going on.
Yeah.
Because they first of all they need to know who's in the vehicle for who to bill, but also they need to watch the inside of the vehicle. You know, if it needs to be cleaned, if somebody gets sick and throws up in there, they need to bring it back to the depot to get it cleaned up before
Oh, it
picks up.
doesn't know.
His vomit
Well, you
sensor?
gotta have. There's got to be some mechanism
It
in
has to
there.
put smell sensors in the car.
Well,
Cars.
and
Audio
actually,
recognition.
this is one of the things these companies are looking at. Last week
Yeah.
or a couple weeks ago, I was at a conference in Michigan, and talking to a company that does interiors. Or actually, it was RideCell, which is a company that does a lot of the back end services for some of the car sharing companies. And one of the things that they're looking at having installed in their vehicles is smoke detectors, because if somebody lights up a cigarette inside
You
the
wanna-
car, then they need before they send
Is
it
the
out
call
to
going
pick
to
somebody
pull
up.
over and say, "Get
Or if
out"?
somebody hotboxes it, yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is for,
wanna clean it.
yeah, this is for
I
car
mean,
sharing.
This is California. I'm just-
They need to do remediation on the car, and it's like $400
Hotbox
bucks.
the Waymo.
I mean, come on. A car drives you around and you.
We have some video from the near future. Oh, you don't have the audio turned on.
Hello. I'm Johnny Cat. Where can I take you tonight?
Oh, that's creepy.
Drive!
Would you please repeat the destination?
Oh, anywhere, just go! Go!
Please state a street and number. I'm not familiar with that address. Would you please repeat?
Oh, he tears the Johnny cab out. See, this is what you
Yeah,
don't want somebody
right.
doing in a
Right.
Waymo, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, right. Hey,
you
if
just take it
was
off and there's a little.
Arnold Schwarzenegger could do that. By the way, side note, but according to Electric, stolen Tesla vehicles in the U.S., there have been 115 stolen, 112 returned. Because they're also
There's so much.
watching what you're
Always
doing.
Yeah.
Where you can't get away with a Tesla.
Yeah, in modern vehicles, you will have no privacy anymore.
Yeah.
But teenagers will still call a Waymo to make out. Let's be honest. Like they'll
Oh,
The
forget
Waymo to take him
hotbox.
to the
Let's
makeout
make out.
spot.
they'll
No.
go drive us
The
in
Waymo
loops.
is the makeout spot.
Yeah. Right?
Making out in a Waymo.
There's cameras in there.
I could see that's going to be.
Teenagers won't care.
That's
Waymo-
Kendrick Lamar's
Way-
next song.
Waymo and
Waking
chill,
out
yes,
in a
from the
Waymo.
audience.
Waking out in a Waymo.
But just to give you some perspective on this, a couple of weeks ago, John Krafcik, the CEO of Waymo, was speaking at the National Governors Association.
Yeah.
And one of the governors asked the question during the Q&A. So, what should we be spending our money on, in terms of investing in infrastructure to support these things? And John Krafcik, he's the CEO of Waymo. He said, "This is going to take a lot longer than you think. Don't waste your money
Because of
on
regulatory hurdles?
regulatory and technical issues." Yeah. Said, don't waste your money right now on things specifically for automation. Just focus on, getting your core infrastructure.
Public transportation.
Fix your roads, fix your public transportation, lane marking, signals,
That's probably
signage.
good advice.
Focus on that
Don't
stuff.
defer the pothole
I'm
maintenance.
really
Just-
glad that was his answer. I'm really glad.
Probably good advice.
No, it was great. It was a great answer, and it was I've known John for more than 10 years, and it was good to hear him get up in front of a group of governors and tell them that this is not going to be an overnight change. This is going to take a long
Lyft
time.
and Uber are saying otherwise, at least from what I'm hearing. That they're saying self-driving is the future. We want to bring this. We need.
Well, it is the future. It's just not necessarily
Right.
But honestly,
next year.
why would Google buy 80,000 vehicles now if it didn't think those are going to be in use in the next year? There's no point. Wait
Well, it's
until
not,
they're going to be
but
in
they're not
use.
all coming now. They're over the next 3 years.
Oh, say that again. So the next
Next
over the
3
next
years.
3 years, those 82,000 vehicles.
Yes.
Okay.
But that's or 60,000.
Still,
That's still
soon.
20,000 of that's a.
Well, I mean, if you think
significant
about
chunk of-
supporting a place like San Francisco or
Yeah.
Phoenix,
Silicon Valley,
you
yeah.
need 10 to 20,000 vehicles in a big city
Took
like
the
that.
Waymo to the levee, but the levee was dry. So the Waymo drove me home, and I picked up some groceries on the way.
At Whole Foods, which I
Whole
pre-ordered.
Foods, which I pre-ordered.
No, Waymo's got Walmart. You got to get the Amazon car to take you to Whole
There
Foods.
is no Amazon car. Is there? Of all the companies doing these self-driving vehicles.
Careful, Bezos might hear you.
Jeff, what's the matter, Jeff?
We just haven't heard about it yet.
self-driving UPS vehicles.
Or you haven't heard about it yet.
He's going to deliver by drones. Maybe you can
Maybe drones
pick me
are
up
it.
on the way.
Just little
Fly
claws.
me.
They just pick you up.
Pick you up by the
carry you
belt.
around.
Pick you up by the slide belt, carry you around.
He's going to have little Blue Origin rockets to take you to Whole Foods.
Our show today brought to you by ZipRecruiter. We had a great experience with ZipRecruiter not so long ago. Our accounting manager quit, gave us 2 weeks' notice. And poor Lisa, this is always the case, right? If you're in HR, the worst time to find a new employee is when that employee quits and now you're down. And Lisa's like working double time trying to keep the books and stuff. And she's got to find somebody to replace it. And I said, Lisa, let's try ZipRecruiter. I mean, they've been a sponsor for years. They're the easiest way to hire. She said, all right. This was at breakfast. She posted on ZipRecruiter. Now, one of the things ZipRecruiter does immediately is post 100 plus of the job of all the job sites out there, including Twitter and Facebook. So it's really casting a very wide net, which means you have a much higher chance of reaching that perfect person. But the other thing that they do that is really interesting, they actually will immediately start matching your opening to millions of resumes that they have on hand to find the people with the right experience. And then they invite those people to apply. And this was the thing that blew me away. I figured, well, it's going to be on those job boards. In the next day or two, we're going to start getting applications. And by the way, they all go into the ZipRecruiter inbox. They format the resume so they're easy to read. You can have screening questions. Makes it very easy. But what I didn't count on is how fast we would start getting applications thanks to ZipRecruiter going out there and getting people. like we're eating breakfast, like an hour later, oh my God, I just got another. Before lunch, we had 5 really good candidates. Lisa was walking on the clouds. She was so happy because instead of having to take weeks to find this right person, ZipRecruiter just served them up. They're so effective that 80% of employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through ZipRecruiter within the first day. It's almost like they're headhunting for you. No wonder ZipRecruiter is the highest rated hiring site in America. It really works. We were thrilled. It made our life much, much easier. And by the way, you can do this right now for free at ZipRecruiter.com/twit. So if you've got an opening, or maybe you don't right now, but maybe tomorrow you're going to go into work, somebody's going to quit, ZipRecruiter.com/twit. Just keep that handy, because I can personally say, I can vouch for it. We got great candidates before lunch. ZipRecruiter.com/twit. It really, really works. ZipRecruiter is the smartest way to hire. Do we have any flow on our best of this week? Let's see. Here's some of the things that happened this week on Twit.
Previously on Twit.
We brought Robert here because we needed his help. We have a 100-inch Ultra HD 4K smart laser TV. Already, producer Jerry has given up on the show and is watching Penguins.
It's a distraction. Triangulation.
Sal Segoyan is here, the king of Apple automation. And you stood up and said, "No, you're wrong" to Steve Jobs.
Yeah. My first words to Steve were, "No, you're wrong." I'm Sal Segoyan. I'm the AppleScript product manager. No, you're wrong. My technology is many times better than Windows.
The new screensavers.
Hisense really has taken the market by storm. They showed this at CES. This is their 100-inch projection TV.
Laser, short throw.
I have to say, there's a little bit of a sacrifice because it's projection, but it is the best looking projection I've ever seen. And if you can live with the price, $9,000, this Hisense 100-inch 4K Ultra HD smart laser TV is really sweet. I want this for the Super Bowl.
It handles rooms with light pretty damn well.
Yeah.
Twit. Technology for your eyes and ear holes.
No flow.
It's all right. I'm here.
I was counting. Could you do this? Show me the weather.
Currently, in Petaluma.
100 inches of weather, baby! That's the biggest weather forecast you ever got. Okay, that was useful. It has echo built into it.
Yes.
I wish we had some flow. I wanted to see Flo screaming at the Amazon Echo. We got to put that B-roll out. I bet you that'd be more popular than Know How. Just people, Megan and Flo screaming at the Echoes. Burke's vouching for it. Burke's there when it happens.
Oh. It gets very stressful. It gets stressful on some days.
They always said never work
funny
with animals or kids or voice assistants.
Yes.
Yep.
It's all right. Someone's got to wrangle them.
So we saved the more thorny issue for the middle of the show, and we're going to talk about InfoWars now. You know, Matt Cutts, I think your experience fighting spam at Google probably will be helpful in this. InfoWars, Alex Jones' kind of conspiracy-laden radio show podcast, has been around for years. When I first heard about it, and it was Twit fans who told me about it, I thought it was like a comedy site. It was like Weekly World News. You know, I was abducted by aliens. But in the Trump era, it's become more, because apparently the president listens to InfoWars, it's become more and more of a mainstream source of information. And at this point, Alex is being sued, for instance, by Sandy Hook parents because he's been saying their kids weren't shot at Sandy Hook. They're actors. That's got to be the ultimate insult to somebody who lost a child.
They're being harassed. They get harassed
As a result,
by his followers.
his InfoWars army goes after them. So he's been pulled from a lot of places. He's been pulled. Apple pulled the podcast from iTunes. So you can still get the app, though, on the App Store, interestingly. Spotify pulled the podcast.
Marco Arment was the first one to pull him from his directory on Overcast.
Good for you, Marco, from Overcast. So there has been some reaction. Twitter won't. And there was a really long article in the New York Times that Twitter invited the New York Times reporters, two reporters, to come in.
What we do know is...
Oh, boy.
Oh, boy. There's this,
I'm going to ban him on Twit. He gets in there, doesn't he? He sneaks in.
It's...
So really, I thought an interesting article in the New York Times where they basically went into the meeting at Twitter last Friday, just a couple of days ago, where they were trying to decide what to do about InfoWars. Now, CNN claims that they found 7 tweets where InfoWars did specifically violate Apple's rules, or Twitter's rules, rather. But Twitter has decided, and they said it's a very tough decision to, for now, leave InfoWars, despite the fact that they apparently did break Twitter's rules, to leave them on. Jack tweeted yesterday, "We didn't suspend Alex Jones or InfoWars. We know it's hard for many, but the reason is simple. He hasn't violated our rules. We'll enforce if he does, and we'll continue to promote a healthy conversational environment by ensuring tweets aren't artificially amplified. Now, I really actually, believe it or not, have mixed feelings about this. And I thought Mike Masnick at Tech Dirt, Mike is often very, very sharp about this kind of stuff, wrote a really interesting and very long piece. He actually was so long, he summarized it right at the beginning. And I'll read this summary because I think it's interesting. He says, internet sites have every right in the world to kick people off their platforms. There's no legal or ethical problem with that. No one's free speech is being censored. That said, and this is what concerns me, we should be at least a bit concerned about the idea that giant internet platforms get to be some sort of arbiter in what speech is okay and what speech is not, and how that can impact society more generally. So he goes on to say there are possible solutions to this, even if none are perfect, and some may be difficult to implement, and we should explore those more thoroughly rather than getting into screaming fights over who should and shouldn't be allowed to use various internet platforms. And the reason I think of you, Matt Cutts, is because I'm sure you had similar issues, similar debates inside of Google when you were there.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really tricky because, you can go by rules or values or principles, but it's hard to go back and fix those things. It's better to encode that in the DNA early. So, for example, I worked on the first version of Safe Search, which was our family filter.
Right.
And so the question is, what should be allowed or not allowed in Safe Search? And it's really tricky. Like even finding pornography is hard by itself because sometimes it's imagery, sometimes it's words.
Well, and there's a famous Facebook problem. Do you show breastfeeding women?
Sure.
Is that pornography?
Right.
For a long time, Facebook would not.
Well, and the famous quote is, I know pornography when I see it, as opposed to a hard and fast definition.
Do they not still? I think there was a big protest, and they've kind of loosened those rules, but maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So for a long time, we had people who would come and say, I don't like X. I think Safe Search should exclude X. And I ended up writing like a canned thing that was like, okay, you might not like the anarchist cookbook or bomb making, but then that leads to pro-anorexia sites, which leads to Wiccan sites, which leads to, and you're literally, here's your slippery slope.
Yeah.
Where would you like to draw it along that line? So in my point of view, I was like, okay, make something upfront and clear and say, this is what it is. And from that point forward, you can at least defend that line.
What is that rule? I mean, that's the hard thing. Google's really in this position because even though the internet exists outside of Google, because of its position as the default search engine for everybody, if it's not on Google, it doesn't exist, kind of.
Well, and I do think everybody that I worked with at Google was very thoughtful and trying to figure out how to... You want to be comprehensive, but at the same time, a long time ago, we were saying, well, you just want to reflect the web adequately. So, for example, you want to have an accurate reflection of what's on the web. But that's even a problem because all the people who pick vaccines, they're like, oh, vaccines are terrible. There's a lot of people who say that. There's fewer people who get really passionate and say, no, scientific consensus and data says that vaccines work. And so if you were only a reflection of the web, you still might not,
that's very true.
Adequately reflect the
And Google's
world.
been bit by that in the past because the search engine does value stuff with more links.
Right.
And in fact, anti-vaccine is a very good example. And but Google fixes it. It seems like on an ad hoc basis.
Well, it's interesting because you'd see people trying to go back and put principles underneath of it. Like, well, why don't you allow this ad? Okay, well, let's figure out the general case. Maybe the general case is we allow proactive ads, but not anti-ads.
A very engineering way to solve
it absolutely is. But what's interesting is every company can have their own personal philosophy. Twitter historically is, calling themselves the free speech wing of the free speech party. And so I can understand why their DNA makes them a little more loath to take action on this.
Also, money. There's a lot of money. I mean...
On InfoWorlds?
Well, no, I'm talking about the users.
Yeah. They don't want to ban too many users because Wall Street had punished them when they banned 1 million bots. Wall Street punished them.
But it does feel like the people that I talk to in the tech industry have realized, okay, if we don't get this trust and credibility problem under control...
That's more of a problem.
That's more of a problem. So, like, you definitely saw, monthly active users take a hit with a couple different platforms because they're getting serious about this.
Right.
And they're just sort of like, okay, Facebook's $120 billion drop, but I would rather have them have realistic, true users rather than bots or something deceptive or misleading. So
yeah, I agree. It's very difficult. Like I don't even know where you draw the line Really?
Well, Mike's solution is to put the control in the hands of the users. So he's saying platforms have to get serious about moving real power out to the ends of the network so that anyone can set up systems for themselves or look to third parties for kill filters, basically. He says in the old days in Usenet, there were kill files. Emails got swamped with spam, but there were a variety of anti-spam filters you could plug in to filter out most of it.
Well, and we did use that at Google. We allowed people to report and ban sites themselves, and we actually had a Chrome extension where you could block sites.
But it was just for you, or was for the group?
It was just for you, but then we used that data
as signals
and said, okay, that's a signal to potentially use.
It is incredibly difficult to come up with a one-size-fits-all solution.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's where you see different companies coming up with, with different approaches, some of which are more and less effective as well.
Yeah.
I don't think a company is going to fix any of this. I think this is a social problem, and I think tech is trying to find an answer for it, and I don't think the answer is there. It's
Would you ban
societal
InfoWars?
problem. Would I ban InfoWars?
If you were Twitter?
I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know. I want it banned because I think it's awful that this stuff is being spread as truth. I mean, let's not forget things like Pizzagate and the sort. Like, that was all because
you had a guy
actually
walk into a pizza joint in Washington, D.C.
Exactly. Which is, it is dangerous. But
that's the one argument that to me carries water with Twitter, which is Twitter has always said, we're not going to allow so much free speech that is endangering people. That is the line we will draw. And frankly, the law draws. If there is a threat, if there's danger, if you shout fire in a crowded theater, you are not protected at that point because you're endangering.
And Alex Jones has cried fire in a crowded theater, and people have responded, and it has put people's lives at risk, and for that he should be banned, period.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand the whole slippery slope argument. I mean, I hate the idea of censoring anyone, but this is clearly an example of where he is spreading absolute untruths, known untruths, and he's getting people riled up around these untruths, and that is more dangerous than the risk of censorship.
Isn't there an argument to be made, though, that if you bury stuff like that, it's in the long run more dangerous than doesn't sunlight disinfect? That if people see this stuff,
the answer to bad speech is more speech.
Yeah, right.
I think that that's been the argument for a long time, and based on what we've seen over the last several years, the last 5-10 years, increasingly, I think that I'm no longer convinced that that's true.
With vaccines, what Google decided to do is they still show anti-vaxxer sites, but they put up a sidebar of scientific factual information. They try to show both sides, I guess.
Well, you can imagine reliable sources that you can find, but I think the Google philosophy is also try to think about signals that give you some idea about reputation. Yeah. And so, a reputable site is then therefore more likely to rank. And I suspect, you could probably come up with a lot of different ways to say, oh, maybe articles on this site are reshared without people actually looking at them, and so you say, oh, they just write the clickbaity headlines.
That sounds like a rationalization.
That is it's a very engineering driven solution. I think that's what a lot of Silicon Valley is doing right now.
They're always going to do because they're engineers.
It is also the case that there are offline solutions. So if somebody does libel or slander, then you can
go to
take
court.
Action that way.
Yeah. And in fact, that's what's happening to Alex Jones. Boy, this is a challenging one, isn't it? And this is just one small bit of a much larger challenging conversation that's going on.
That's why it's really difficult, because that's why I say it's a societal thing, because this is how I feel about personally, when there is increased police presence on things like BART, I'm kind of against it, because I think that that's not actually solving the problem of why robberies are happening because of great income disparity. So to this point, I say this is not actually solving the problem of why.
You want to get at the root of the problem.
I want to get to the root of the problem. I mean, we have a problem.
That takes time.
It does, but we keep focusing on tech and talking about tech and what the tech companies are doing, but they're not doing anything for us. They're doing everything for their own gain. This has nothing to do with the users. They're going to acquiesce us so that we keep buying their products and using their services, but it has nothing to do with actually helping humanity. We have to solve this problem ourselves offline. We have to change it.
I think a lot of people can and should take all kinds of actions. But I do know a lot of people at tech companies who genuinely feel like, okay, this is a problem. Maybe they were trying to get heard before, but it does feel like now the tech companies understand they need to be part of the solution and figure out, you can't just allow bots, to make your user growth look good. Like, it does feel like that moment of reckoning has arrived, and at least the tech companies realize, okay, how are we responsible? What is our ethical obligation, and how do we put that in place?
And there's some ethical I think there's ethical needs in all forms of engineering, not just in what Silicon Valley does, but across the board. Autonomous vehicles being a prime example of that. The engineers need to think about the human factor in any kind of product that they're creating. The way people are going to use that product needs to be considered in the development of that product.
Yeah.
But propaganda is in the eye of the beholder. I mean, you can't decide, propaganda is only stuff you don't agree with. So Jones has been removed from Apple, Facebook, YouTube. Jones InfoWars apps still are in the Google Play Store and the App Store, and still on Twitter, even though Twitter now agrees with CNN. Yeah, he violated our policies. And that's another problem. If you make a policy,
you need to be consistent.
Got to follow it. That's like with children. You got to discipline them. Otherwise they won't learn.
Yeah. So really, it's such a challenge for Twitter. And I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt and say it's not a financial decision. Certainly not InfoWars. But I think Twitter's trying to do the right thing, but I think they're struggling, as everybody is, with what is the right thing. And I have misgivings about censoring anybody, even if it's speech I disagree with, because
it could be you next time.
You don't want Twitter to be given the role in society of deciding who's good and who's not.
It shouldn't be in their hands.
It shouldn't be in their hands.
It should not be in there. We shouldn't give them that kind of power.
On the other hand, I can easily see the point of view that, well, you don't want to let somebody spew something that's actively dangerous to people. It's really challenging because we have a president who's actively
spewing things that are dangerous,
pursuing the media in ways that the media is starting to see as dangerous. They're going to be editorials this week in all the big newspapers. I think the Globe is starting this.
I think it was 100 papers that committed to doing
saying, got to stop attacking the media because somebody's going to get hurt. But on the other hand,
they already have in Baltimore.
And the fires I guess not.
On the other hand, it's crazies that are doing this, right? And so there's one thing. Do you blame the guy who's inflaming the crazies or the crazies? Maybe the guy who's inflaming them is saying something he honestly believes is deeply true. I think he is. It's not his responsibility that somebody takes it to the...
Well, maybe if society were better to him, he wouldn't feel the need to have that. I mean,
be nicer. Huh?
Yeah, I mean, if he's feeling slighted by these people that he needs to go out and...
We'll talk with Jeff Jarvis about this on Wednesday on Twig, but he's written an interesting opinion piece for The Atlantic in which he's pretty positive. He says that what you're seeing at this point is a major sign of process. The process is beginning to work. Civilization is winning at last. Now, I'd be very interested what Jeff says about Twitter, but he says Alex Jones went too far, and the public, empowered by the same tools of social media Jones exploited, told the platforms his behavior is unacceptable in a civil society. The platforms, like media and like regulators, might prefer to start, as you say, Matt, with a set of rules that can be enforced by government, by social media managers, or algorithms. But really, in the real world, that's not how we negotiate our standards. The breach makes the rule. You can't necessarily know ahead of time what's going to be a problem. We know pornography, propaganda, trolling, and spamming when we see it, and then we write the rules to prevent it. Jeff writes, the progress always seems to take too long, but it is prudent that we ban what we see rather than everything we might fear. He's talking about, prior restraint. That's a big issue too, right?
And techno-panic.
Right. And the First Amendment is very much protective of, you cannot use prior restraint. You can't stop a newspaper from publishing something you think they're going to publish. You have to wait till they publish it. And then, although the interesting history of the First Amendment, if you start to read it, is that almost immediately after the First Amendment was added to the Constitution, it was violated by a federal government that didn't like the speech that it was getting. I can't remember what the subject was. But it was,
boy.
So it was almost immediately violated.
So maybe we shouldn't be so
didn't the Alien and
surprised.
Sedition Act, I think,
yeah, perfect example.
yeah.
The Alien Sedition Act. In fact, maybe that was it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, as Flo said, I think we do need to attack the root causes of why people are feeling this way. Yeah, I mean, that's a process that's going to take a lot longer, and there's no simple solution to that. But the inequality that, increasingly see here and elsewhere, is, I think, the fundamental problem. And until that is addressed, and dealt with, all the other stuff is going to continue to happen.
The internet's just a platform.
We're just going to be playing you're going to be playing whack-a-mole.
It is somewhat reassuring to know, though, that right after the Bill of Rights was passed in 1798, the United States government passed the Alien and Sedition Acts, which a series of laws which included new powers to, get this, deport foreigners, as well as making it harder for new immigrants to vote. And in fact, one of the most controversial of the new laws, the Sedition Act, prohibited public opposition to the government. Fines and imprisonment could be used against those who write, print, utter, or publish any false, scandalous, or malicious writing. 1798, signed into law by John Adams. So, under the terms of this law, 20 Republican newspaper editors were arrested and some were imprisoned. This has been going on for as long. This is why democracy's hard, right?
It is why democracy's hard, but the beauty is that, this is kind of a wake-up call that everybody needs to think about how they feel about it and participate.
And thank you.
Well, we need to do
antidote.
We need to do that now before we end up living in Gilead.
Right. Participate now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do not watch that show.
It is pretty gloomy.
Not going down that path.
Yeah, I tried to watch. He's talking about.
I tried to.
He's talking about
Handmaid's Tale.
The Hulu show Handmaid's Tale, and I watched the first episode. And
I couldn't.
I had to stop.
I couldn't watch the first 5 minutes. It was hard.
It was hard.
Still need to make time for the Rick and Morty or the Parks and Recreation from time to time. That's okay, but also participate.
Archer.
Participate.
You got to get your Archer to balance your handmaids.
Yeah.
This is a big conversation. It's going to go on for a lot more time, I know. But thank you you did a very responsible, intelligent job with that. That's good.
Go panel.
We're going to talk about voting machines and hackers. Oh boy. When we come back, our show today brought to you by Ring. It's a smarter way to protect your home. Ring, we've talked about the Ring video doorbell forever. I have one. I've had one since they came out. Installed it myself. I'm very proud. It's awesome. In fact, you've probably heard, sometimes I forget to mute my phone, and you hear it go ding when somebody walks up the front path. When somebody rings the doorbell, it goes dong, dong, dong. I know, and I can immediately talk to them, see them, find out what's going on at my front door. I love it. And now they've reinvented the home alarm system. Ring Alarm. I am so excited about this. This is we've been waiting for this for months. It's now out. It's an easy to install, affordable home security system. No long-term contracts. You can build a system that's right for your home. Have it up and running in minutes. You can install this very easily. And get ready for this. You get professional monitoring 24/7. So, if somebody breaks in, it notifies the center. How much does the other alarm companies charge for that? Well, first of all, you got to bring a guy out. He's got to install all this stuff. Charges you through the nose for that. And then they typically charge you $45 or more a month for this stuff. Ring Protect Plus, professional monitoring. Get ready, $10 a month. $10. No long-term contracts. No moving costs. No cancellation fees. Just $10 a month. You'd be crazy to buy anything else. We've come to trust Ring with everything. Now, the Ring Alarm Security Kit is available at ring.com. Go to ring.com/twit. You can learn more. Get the base station, get the keypad, the sensors, the motion detectors. They've even got range extenders that extend the signal from your base station so you can cover a very large area. And then there's a lot more. Ring.com/twit. A smarter way to protect your entire home. Only $10 a month for that professional 24/7 monitoring. Wow. I love it. Classic Skype lives to see another day. Thank you, Microsoft. Microsoft's listening. They were going to kill Skype, Classic Skype. We rely on Skype, as you know. In fact, I'm not using Skype for the first time in weeks. You guys are all here. I love that.
We're real people. Yay. I mean, everybody's real, but we're tangible.
Look, she's there.
We're flesh.
We're not bots.
If you burn us, we burn.
Oh, I won't burn you, I promise. But I was really worried because we were so reliant on Skype, and Microsoft seems to be degrading the program every time they put another release out.
Yeah.
Just finding basic settings like, where to set the camera.
They take it out, they put it back, they take it out. So we had been keeping a link to the classic Skype, hoping that we wouldn't have to pull the trigger, but needing it in case they took out something we need. And everybody was freaked out when Microsoft said, no, we're going to stop allowing you to download. Thank you, Brad Sams, for bringing this to our attention. Skype lives to see another day. We don't know for how long, but Microsoft has backtracked a little bit about that. BuzzFeed reporting on DefCon. DefCon? Anybody at DefCon? Do you ever go to DefCon?
I have wanted to go to DefCon so much.
You may not be allowed.
I just leave all my phones at home.
As the chief of the U.S. Digital Service, Matt Cutts. Actually, the FBI goes.
So can I tell you that we have a team at the Defense Digital Service, which is our wing over at the Pentagon, and they are sending folks, and we're doing a hackathon, like a literal hackathon, a bug bounty, called Hack the Marines. So, yes, that's right.
They did hack the Navy.
They've done hack the Army, hack the Navy. So this is their 6th bug bounty. They had never... The federal government had never done a bug bounty before 2016 when the U.S. Digital Service did Hack the Pentagon.
So that was you.
Well, it wasn't. I did I helped with the second one. But but yes, the U.S. Digital Service helped with that. And
that's what I mean by you.
Right. The collective you.
You didn't bring like all the Ethernet cable in.
There was a wonderful person named Lisa who was really the driver on that.
Yeah.
But it's pretty incredible because everybody was incredibly scared of doing this. It turns out bug bounties have been done since 1995 with Netscape, so it's not really scary. They've turned the crank so many times that now people are like, ooh, can you test our system out?
I remember that when the first Hack the Pentagon happened, there was a lot. Congress was like, what?
Yeah, what's going on here?
That doesn't seem like a good idea. And the word hack is so loaded now.
Well, the story is somebody was like, well, you can do your bug bounty, but you can't call it, hack. Like Hack the Pentagon. Right. And then the guy at the Pentagon was like, oh, we're totally calling it Hack the Pentagon. Because the guy there likes to pick fights and win fights. And
it's also great marketing.
It's really good marketing.
Gets people's attention.
So they're literally doing Hack the Marines with over 50 different Marines.mil websites at DefCon.
Now, tell us, for people who are saying, well, why would you want to do that? What is the benefit of this kind of thing?
So, I mean, first off, you can earn money. Like, money is cool. You can help secure...
If you're good at this, you could. You have to be good at it.
So there is a person who just graduated high school. His name is Jack Cable. He's going to Stanford in the fall. He's one of the top, in the top 5, according to HackerOne, of all the hackers. He's doing an internship with DDS and finding all these security holes. And the point is, now this person is doing it because they just want to, improve the security of websites so that bad people don't get in, bad actors don't get in. So it's a win across the board. You get better security at a cheaper price, industry best standard. It's the right way to do it.
I love this tweet from the Defense Digital Service. Excited to have Jack H. Cable come join the Rebel Alliance at DDS in just a couple of weeks. He's still going to Stanford, but he's going to work with DDS.
Yeah, he's been here over the summer. And
so cool.
It's really great.
That is so
HackerOne is one of the companies that runs the responsible disclosure programs for a lot of companies. I think they do GM's, General Motors, bug bounty program, and BugCrowd is another one.
The benefit, I understand to Jack Cable what the benefit is. What's the benefit to the Marines or the Pentagon or GM? Why would they want somebody to hack them?
Your systems get more secure, but previously, people would pay for penetration testing, right? And they were paying something like $13,000 for every security vulnerability that they found. Hack the Pentagon, the cost went to $1,086.
Wow.
So an order of magnitude cheaper. You find more security holes. You fix them faster. The white hats find them instead of the black hats. It's just across the board a great idea.
It's a win all round.
Yeah. Better, faster, cheaper.
Interesting. Nice.
And for automakers, same thing.
Yeah.
they're finding a lot
You'd
of
rather
stuff now.
find these bugs before a real hacker. These are
especially
white hat
before we
hackers.
start getting autonomous vehicles on the
Yeah.
road.
Yeah.
You want to find those problems before
Lock that down.
somebody can take control of a fleet
Please.
of 1 million autonomous vehicles and tell them
Is that
all
going to
to
be the
turn
next
left
Die
now.
Hard plot line?
So there is one industry that has not ever done a bug bounty or a hackathon. It's the voting machine industry.
Oh, really?
Not fans. Not really fans of
No.
people showing how insecure they are. Nevertheless, DefCon this year
I think
had
they're still running like Excel 98 or something.
I know. DefCon going on this weekend in Las Vegas had, for the second year running, a voting village. Organizers set up decommissioned election equipment, invited the hackers to find, according to BuzzFeed, creative and alarming ways to break in. Last year, conference attendees found new vulnerabilities in all 5 voting machines. This year, in a room set aside for kid hackers, an 11-year-old girl hacked a replica of the Florida Secretary of State's website within 10 minutes and changed the voting results.
Wow.
An 11-year-old changed. No, that was not the
doomed.
real site. But, if
Their
an
website,
11-year-old can do it, I think
Yep.
the Russians probably could too.
Oh, much more.
Did you see the XKCD about voting? It's like 2030, I think. And it talks about, okay, if you ask a person who is an engineer for airplanes.
Oh, I
like,
do remember this one.
How do you improve security? They're like, well, we iterate and things get a lot better. And then they say, how about elevators? Oh, there's multiple fail safes. Basically, it's impossible for an elevator to fall now. And then they start to talk about voting systems, and they're like, oh, no, that's terrifying. You should not trust anything we do. It's a wonder no one dies. And then
I don't know how to tell you this as the software engineer, but our entire field is bad at what we do. And if you rely on us, everyone will die. Well, they say they fixed it with something called blockchain. Ah! Whatever they sold you, don't touch it. Bury it in the desert. Wear gloves.
Did you see the West Virginia company that's going to use mobile voting?
Mobile voting for overseas voters.
Overseas service members.
But no paper trail. In fact, more and more, it's interesting. You wouldn't expect computer scientists to say this, security guys, digital folks to say this, but almost all of them now say the only way to safe way to vote is on paper ballots.
Yeah.
Paper ballots.
Paper and pen.
Failing that, at least you need a paper trail.
Yeah, at least backed by paper.
In fact, they're auditing now voting machines that they've given them, like, what was it, the district in Ohio that had 200% voter turnout? But did you see
Georgia?
that one? Georgia, that's right. Unfortunately,
200%.
They really care about voting down there.
In the United States, I mean, if it gets over 30%, you're something wrong.
Yeah, exactly. It's like,
so
what?
243% voter turnout.
Oh,
on these machines.
243%.
Problem is, these machines are the ones no one should use, have no paper trail. So,
Wow.
so these are debold.
Wow.
Diebold. Diebold wrote to us and told us how to pronounce it, and I forgot.
I think it's Diebold.
Diebold machines that don't have a paper trail. You got to have at least an audit trail, so there's going to be very difficult to audit.
Show the receipts.
And this is from the state primary election in May. One precinct.
Well, did you see the Twitter thread?
276 registered voters in Mud Creek. 670 votes cast.
They just vote early and often. Yeah. Did you see the Twitter thread sort of deconstructing the votes website? They're the blockchain voting system.
No. Let me see if I can find it. Who's it?
Kevin Beaumont.
Okay.
So he looks at the website. He's like out of date SSH, Apache, PHP.
Oh, I remember this.
Hop3, Plesk, and then he just keeps going through.
Plesk, please, really,
yeah,
Plesk.
At some point, Votes comes in and is like, "No, you don't understand." And then he's like, "Oh, don't understand where you left your source code on GitHub with hard-coded usernames and passwords." And it's a pretty bad cell phone. So.
Lots of good, actually, information. Here's Rachel Toback at the DEF CON hacking conference, learning how to gain getting admin access to a voting machine requires no tools, takes under 2 minutes,
What?
It's used in 18 states, this system.
What? You just press a button and it opens?
Yeah, wait a minute. Let me just show you this. You can turn on my audio.
Yeah.
This is
Voting
Rachel.
machine is used in 18 different states, and it's extremely easy to get admin access on this machine. So let me show you how quick it is. It's about a little under 2 minutes.
So by the way, this is the voting machine in the booth.
Actor would be to open up this machine by pressing this button right here. When it's off, removing the card reader, removing this, you don't need any tools to do this. Unplugging this, again, you don't need any tools to do this.
Oh, wow.
There goes the hard drive.
Turning it on, all you have to do is pick this lock here with a ballpoint pen.
What?
Press the red button. And we're gonna let it boot up here. And then I'll show you the admin access.
This is Premier Voting Systems, used in 18 states, kids.
Wow.
18 states.
This is not okay.
Yeah, Rachel is great. We actually interviewed her about social engineering. She's
yes.
a very, very talented hacker.
So it's loading what they call a secure
Looks like Windows CE.
terminal right now.
Did you see that?
The problem is a lot of this stuff came up, following the 2000 election.
This is copyright 2003 to 2008.
Yeah.
The software running on it.
There was a big push to update voting systems to get rid of hanging chads
Here
and
we're
all
going to
that.
see a couple of error
And
messages,
we ended up
and all
with
you have to do to
this
bypass
crap.
those error messages is just click cancel and OK. And now I have
You got root.
full admin access. Under 2 minutes.
All she had to do was really pull the hard drive and boot up to the
Yeah, that's
firmware.
all she did.
Does this make any? Does anybody want to now start a voting booth company that would have
cameras in it,
audited,
let me ask,
code that's open source?
Why should voting be proprietary? Voting systems. Why should it be proprietary? Why is it not open source?
By the way, one of the few strengths we have in all this is that every county uses a different system. So it's a little harder to hack.
At least you don't have a monoculture.
Yeah, there's not a monoculture. But you're right. This should be open source for one thing. We got to look at companies like Diebold that don't really seem to care. It's depressing. Anyway, it's going on right now at DefCon. I'm sure there'll be more like that. Rachel,
Look what else can be hacked.
Everything can be hacked.
I mean,
man.
it's true.
Everything.
I still haven't been able to get pizzas for free, though.
Here's the
Speaking of
good
social
news.
engineering.
If it's going to be a world where everybody's hacking us, at least we're going to hack them right back.
Sure.
The Pentagon is building, this is from Wired, a dream team of tech-savvy soldiers. This happened, and I'm sure, Matt, you're aware of this, a couple of months ago when the U.S. Army Cyber Command was given parity with all the other branches. It's basically a branch of the Pentagon. And I have mixed feelings about this. I think we should have a defensive force. I worry about us creating, which this is, an offensive force.
So it's interesting because that article is about the team at the Defense Digital Service. So Chris Lynch and that
these
picture,
are the defensive
that's the person
guys
that I have worked with. Yeah.
Okay.
And so the idea is if you can figure out ways where you can do these defensive things, and there are lots of talented people in government. If you can find them and empower them, and try to cut some of the red tape and improve the training, you can actually defend the country much better.
I worry, though, and I know that Chris and everybody, these guys are going to be defensive. These guys are going to be responsible. But I also know that the Pentagon's building an offensive arm. And I worry that we are going to escalate this.
We're not involved any on the offensive stuff. We're just trying to figure out
defense.
how can you do defensive stuff better. But
and the name is Defense, so that's good. FCC says, yeah, we weren't hacked.
No, really?
Yeah, no. But it wasn't our fault. It was that Obama guy.
Oh, boy.
Ajit Pai said it was the former CIO at the FCC, an Obama administration appointee, who provided inaccurate information about this incident to me, my office, Congress, and the American people. The problem was the FCC was DDoSed by actual legitimate comments on their anti-net neutrality stance, and the system, the comment system, once again, it's broken before, Same subject, actually.
But it wasn't a malicious DDoS. It was people just trying to use the system as intended and overwhelmed it because they did something that was so ridiculous.
Now the Office of the Inspector General, the FCC's own investigators, have put out a report saying, basically, you're clueless at best, untruthful at worst, for more than a year. There isn't a conspiracy. And you basically, we were never hacked. Okay.
It never happened.
Never happened. The real question is, was it DDoSed and down, or was it DDoSed down and then they kept it down because they didn't like the tenor of the comments? That's the real question. I don't know if the OIG has addressed that. I think that would be an interesting question. Did they intentionally keep it down because it wasn't going their way?
Mr. Pi would never do that.
We know there were a lot of phony comments, some from members of Congress that weren't really from the members of Congress. That irritated Congress a little bit. Snapchat source code. This is the annals of hacking. Snapchat source code has been leaked. It was briefly published on GitHub. It was the iOS version. It was pulled down immediately, cease and desist. GitHub pulled down the whole thing. Nevertheless, I'm sure people got a copy of it. In fact, according to Motherboard, some people are actively trading the Snapchat source code.
Oh.
That usually ends up badly.
They're not doing well. They're falling.
Yeah,
they said they lost
Snapchat.
users.
Yeah, I feel a little bad for them.
I'm still using it.
Good news, the Pentagon has now restricted the use of fitness trackers in secure facilities.
Well, there goes your pedometer.
So much for my Fitbit steps.
This was a problem, remember, with Strava, and people were able to figure out where secret Pentagon installations, Defense Department installations were because, well, it turns out soldiers like to stay fit.
Strava's
a lot of them have
app.
Fitbits.
Running around the perimeter of their bases.
And they could actually map it pretty well. So it's about time. I think one general said, what? Let's see if I can find the quote. I read it somewhere. You mean people are, what? He said, I thought it was banned. And so they immediately put out a memo banning it. U.S. military troops and other defense personnel at sensitive bases or certain high-risk war zone areas will not be allowed to use features on fitness trackers or cell phone apps that reveal their location. A new Pentagon order. Whoops.
Are they even allowed to carry cell phones? Because of course
in some cases not.
Wireless carrier knows
when you
where
go to the
are.
Pentagon, do you have to
You can carry a cell phone, but then if you go to a SCIF, a secure compartmental information, then you would leave your phone outside.
They have a bin that everybody.
Is it like an umbrella bin?
No, it's usually like little post office
one,
box.
leave one.
Yeah, take one, leave one.
Here's a cubby. Get your little, key.
At least they give you a cubby.
you get an individual cubby.
Yeah.
You don't just
That's
all throw
nice.
it like
No. Otherwise, how can you tell? They all look the
They all
same,
look the
right?
same, you're right.
You'd end up with, I
Is
have
that
Leo's
yours?
phone.
That's fine. Let's take a little break, and we'll wrap things up in a minute. Great panel, man. It's so nice to have Sam Abul-Samid, who writes for Navigant Research. He's a senior analyst there and is always bringing us interesting cars. This time, a new Honda with a hydrogen fuel cell engine. It's an electric car, but it's powered not by batteries. Well, it has a little battery, I guess.
It has a little hybrid battery to get regenerative braking and help the fuel cell out.
But most of the time, it runs the wheels, the front wheel drive motor, electric motor is running off of hydrogen.
Yeah,
finally
has a little
hydrogen and
catalytic
oxygen go into the fuel cell stack. Gets turned into water and a flow of electrons. And
you know what I wanted Megan to do, because she did a test drive. We'll have it on Saturday on the new Screensavers. I wanted her to just lie under the exhaust pipe and drink.
I've done that.
Oh,
yeah,
it's very dramatic.
When I first started writing about cars, the very first car that I ever did a review of was a prototype Ford Focus fuel cell vehicle, and you collected water from the tailpipe and drink it.
It's actually very pure.
It's about as pure as you're going to get anywhere.
H2O.
Wow.
Yeah, or as some of us call us, dihydrous oxide.
Yes.
Be careful of the dihydrous oxide. You drank it straight out of the exhaust pipe. You're a bold man, Sam.
Somebody's got to do it. It's in the name of science.
Yeah, exactly.
Florence Ion, who has been here, man, more than anybody this week. You were here more than me, practically. All About Android host on Tuesdays. She came in early on Tuesday to do the Note 9 unveiling with Jason. Know-how every Thursday. You skipped this week, though, right?
No, we did this week.
You did know how
I
to?
skipped all about Android this week.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You get some time off. It's great to have you. And where can we find your writing?
Mario Pie.
Yes. I'm wearing my Android shirt today, by the way. There's no pie on it, though.
Oh, you've got
Or no-
cupcake.
Yeah.
So
It's
the
those
other
all
day,
the-
I was trying to go through all of the desserts. But so I starts with cupcake. That was the first public release, right? What were A and B?
Well, Cupcake was 1.5, I think, right?
Yeah.
Was there an A
1.4,
and B? Android
something
A
like
and
that.
Android B?
I could have sworn there was. It was in the...
Cupcake, donut, eclair, froyo, gingerbread, honeycomb, ice cream, jelly bean, Kit Kat, lollipop,
Yeah, they didn't name
marshmallow,
them until
nougat,
Cupcake.
Oreo.
1.5.
Cupcake was the first one to come out on the G1.
So 1.0 and 1.1 were not named.
They weren't named. They were just, there's no A and
Android
B.
1.1 and Android 1.0.
So Pi is the new one. Interesting choice. It's a one syllable.
Yes.
Shorter than ice cream sandwich.
Yes.
What are we going to do with Q? There's a problem. I see a problem ahead.
No Q desserts.
I think there are no Q.
Desserts that start with Q.
There are very few. Quiche? No, that's not a dessert.
That's not a Q.
The nice thing about pie, though, is it could be quiche or pizza.
Yeah, vanilla quiche.
Yeah, it could be anything. It doesn't have to be a dessert. Pie could be anything. Some people really hate the name pie. But it's better than P, which we were saying for a long time. Android P is not a good name. So I agree maybe Pi isn't the best name, but it's better than P. Right?
Speaking of Android, though, that Honda also running on Kit Kat.
What?
The infotainment system is built on
Serious?
Kit Kat. Yeah.
Kit Kat.
They didn't put Android Auto in there.
That's ancient.
Huh?
They didn't put Android Auto in there.
No, it does have Android
Okay,
Auto,
good.
but the base operating system
It's
of the head
interesting
unit
because
is
most of them running on QNX, QNX.
That's the most popular one, but there's a bunch of cars out there that are running Android.
Yeah, that's
Android
true.
Kit
That's
Kat?
true.
Yeah.
I think
that
Maserati
okay?
too runs on Android.
The chat room is having a ton
No,
of
they're
fun.
still
I
on
know.
QNX, but they're
Now,
switching.
okay.
FCA is
Somebody
switching
suggested,
over
I think they're right, Android quinoa.
Quinoa, queso.
Queso. I really think Android quince jam would be good.
They could also just skip it.
They might just skip Q.
They could just
go
skip
right to
Q.
R.
It's like Q wasn't on the phone number pad for such a long time.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
That's all they say
too-
is
too
that
ambiguous
we're
with
using
zero.
the phone pad alphabet.
But then you always have to explain it. Like, why is there no Windows 9?
Why is there no 13th
Why is there no
floor in this
A
40-story
and B?
building?
Yeah, that's.
Our show today brought to you by WordPress. My blog is brought to you by WordPress. It has been for years. I love WordPress. I started using WordPress on a self-hosted site at great expense and a lot of hair loss in the early 2000s, Matt Mullenweg's. And then I realized, I don't have to host it. I could let them host it, WordPress.com. They take care of the hosting, the security, the software updates. This was kind of like a breath of fresh air for me. No longer do I have to worry about that. I could focus on the content, the site. That's a really good thing because if you don't have a website, you don't own a place on the web. Your Facebook page, that's not yours, that's Mark's. Your Twitter account, that's not yours, that's Jack's. It's only your own web page that you really own, and the best way to do it is at wordpress.com/twit. No limits. Create the ultimate online presence that is uniquely yours. They have hundreds of templates, so you could choose a style that fits yours. Put your good stuff up there. In fact, honestly, parents, if you're listening, when you have a baby, get your baby's name as .com registered, and then as the kid gets older, get them a website. Because I got to tell you, if you don't have the website, if that's not the first thing that shows up when somebody searches for your name, you're not controlling your presence on the web. Somebody else controls it. Somebody else could post that picture of you, looking terrible. Plus, WordPress makes it so easy. It's your site, your home, your content. You can grow your audience and reach new customers with built-in search engine optimization. Mr. Webmaster Tools right here knows all about that. Social media features that make it possible for your fans, your readers, your community to publicize your site using their Facebook page and their Twitter feed. Great marketing tools, too. The WordPress app on iOS and Android makes it very easy, not only to post to your site, but manage comments. And I always do that. I love that. They have the best comment engine. And by the way, the Akismet anti-spam plugin is king of the hill. at WordPress.com. You can launch your website with confidence knowing that if there's any question at any time, they've got 24/7 support when you need it. And WordPress plans, it was nuts to it cost me more to host my own site just for the hosting alone than it would cost to go to WordPress.com. They start at $4 a month. 31% of all websites in the world run on WordPress. Shouldn't you? Get 15% off any new plan purchase right now. WordPress.com/twit. WordPress.com/twit. 15% off any new plan purchase right now. WordPress.com/twit. Any tips on how not to get recorded in the White House Situation Room? Anybody want to share that?
Don't go in there.
And thrown at Sam.
Just
assume you're always being recorded.
Wow. Wow. Have you ever been in the Situation Room? No, he's drinking water. He's drinking water. There seems like that wouldn't be possible. I don't know. I'm just saying. All right, just moving on.
But you would think, people in high office, would also be using phones that were secured.
Well, that's another issue.
And
are you going to buy a SpotMini robot from Boston Dynamics? Boston Dynamics, the company that gave you the killer robot dog, right?
Wait, has it killed anybody or anything yet?
That we know of.
They're getting ready to produce, according to
Black Mirror was a documentary.
Yeah. Lots of SpotMinis. These are the robot dogs that they say they're going to sell to the consumers.
Now, again, going back to the question of as an engineer, thinking about ethics of what are you going to do with this thing?
Use it as an end table. Like it could follow you.
It could bring you beer
with a drink on top, and then you just.
You know what was a very
kitchen.
popular device for a long time, especially overseas. Aibo. And in fact, it's still so popular. There are people who trade old parts and things to keep theirs running because they love the companionship they get from these.
Wow. Well, Sony's bringing
dogs.
the Aibo back.
Yeah, that's right.
Wow.
But I'm imagining something like this to be advertised for consumers would just be the dog that does not smell.
Here's
you
a
don't
slide.
have to clean up after.
Here's a slide from the Boston
companionship I get
Dynamics
from my
deck.
actual dog.
My cat is.
SpotMini is the Android of robots. It's a robot platform that can do anything. Construction, delivery.
Construction?
I don't know what it's delivering here.
What
It
is
looks
that
like it's delivering a
Construction
pot.
or destruction?
Construction, security, I believe. Right? You see that coming to the door. You go. Oh, let's see it. I'm at the home assistant. What is this doing?
It's a laundry basket.
Is it sorting socks?
It's
What is
sorting
it?
socks. It's carrying the laundry.
Okay, I want this just for that alone.
That looks like a bad Photoshop job on the home assistant.
Spot, go get my laundry out of the dryer and fold it
and kill someone on the way back.
It's pretty funny, but that's the point of the SpotMini is you can add arms and
okay,
So it's
I
like
admit
a
my dog
KitchenAid
will not
mixer.
get the laundry for me.
This is
might throw
Boston
up on it,
Dynamics.
but-
It's up to all of you to think of the application where you could get a basic SpotMini and either work with us or with others to build hardware and software that runs on that.
I would like to terrorize my neighbor.
It's a platform. Okay.
How do I do that?
Done.
It's a platform. Actually, all joking aside,
Yes.
that kind of makes sense. Because we know
The Aibo
platforms,
thing?
the whole point of a platform, Microsoft Windows platform,
Yeah.
the cloud, is that it's a stable place for developers to build upon.
Right.
And we don't have a robot platform.
And as
Not
we've
yet.
seen from the videos over the last several years, this has gotten to be increasingly more stable. You kick it now and it will stay upright now.
Literally, yeah.
Exactly.
Literally a stable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why it works for the laundry basket.
Exactly,
It
yeah.
won't
Well,
spill
that's
things
taking
over.
platform a little too literally in my mind. Here is, and you tell
Hey,
me.
they used the word.
You tell me how you feel about this. Oh my God, that's terrifying.
It's terrifying.
Now play the clip from that episode of Black Mirror.
Now, what if it wants to sort your socks?
Yeah.
I'd say, take the socks,
Yeah,
please.
it's going to let you.
Take the socks.
I don't know how I would feel about it with my delicates, though. I'm sorry. I just don't think it has quite the touch. Spot, that is not how you dry lace.
I think we should just wrap this up with the sock sorting robot.
What could go wrong?
What could possibly go wrong? Look, it left a thumb drive in the lawn. Hold on a second.
Make sure you go plug it into all your computers and see if it'll read it.
Let's get a big plug for the U.S. Digital Service, everybody. If you want to be instrumental in making the world, the government work better, this is a way to do it, right?
It is. I would love to share one quick story. So I went for a run, and it was nearby, and I don't know if you've heard of the Bodega Volunteer Fire Department.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So this is Santa Rosa.
Yeah.
So there's a grant through FEMA. It's called the Assistance for Firefighters Grant, and they, in the last full year, gave out over $66 million to California volunteer and other fire departments.
Oh, that's neat.
But the system is really hard to use. And people who are like up until 3 a.m. and need the system to be really simple and really robust can have a hard time applying for this. And so there are firefighting people using equipment right now that came via this grant. And if the system's not good to use, if it's not up, if it's not robust, if it doesn't help with all of these complex rules, then communities might not have equipment, training, and vehicles. So like that is literally a system that we are helping to improve right now. So Bodega Volunteer Fire Department got over $250,000 through one of these grants. And
that's a good thing.
And so
that's
like
awesome.
If you've been following all of the stuff that's been happening with the Mendocino complex fires and all sorts of stuff like that.
On the way up,
and it's not just firefighters, it is farmers, it is small businesses, it's doctors.
And you can help
students.
make this easier. By the way, they need a better looking website. Because it looks like Comic Sans in blue on a bright lime green background.
That is that specific fire department. But the point is, these are people who don't have time or maybe the expertise to really do this. And so it needs to be easy and simple for them.
And if you don't think Bodega needs a good fire department, then you don't remember the movie The Birds, which took place in Bodega. And do you remember what happened when the birds attacked the gas station in Bodega Bay?
This movie really scared me.
Do you remember what happened? This is why you need the U.S. Digital Service.
I didn't sleep after this movie.
This is why you got to have a good volunteer fire department in Bodega. I wonder if they use this for their recruiting.
That's why I didn't go to Bodega until my 20s.
Their recruiting video.
Wow.
It's actually a beautiful area. Everybody's running into the gas station.
Did you happen to see the picture that popped up the other day of all the birds in Bodega or somewhere? I think it was a spoof, an updated version of the birds, a new version of the birds with scooters everywhere.
Yes, bird scooters. Bird scooters are electric, thankfully, so this will never happen. Put away that cigarette. No, sir. Oh, no. Don't throw that cigarette out the window. Oh, no.
He's gonna light a cigarette. Oh, this is going to end badly.
This movie was hard to watch when I was a kid.
Do you remember this?
Movie was... I did not sleep after I saw it.
Oh, man.
Look out! Watch out!
It's so awful! It's awful! I didn't want to watch it again!
Quick, call the Bodega Fire Department!
Okay, so government...
awful.
Oh, man. Government systems are not always that literally dramatic, but...
Oh, my gosh!
That's gotta hurt.
We still need help. We're looking for engineers, designers, and product managers. You can do a short tour of duty. You do not have to worry about literal tire fires.
No.
Only figurative tire fires.
Hitchcock is gone. It's fine. We don't have to worry about any of that.
It's usds.gov, the United States Digital Service, and if you click the Join Us link on the right there.
What's your dress code?
Our dress code is you have to wear clothes. I have worn
Let's click on the dress code.
I mean,
Yeah. Don't worry. Most days you can dress like you are at any other startup.
Okay.
In other words, shower, flip-flops, and hoodies. Okay.
So the team at the Pentagon wears hoodies. I have seen Chris Lynch, the guy that you saw a picture, get pinned by the former Secretary of Defense wearing a hoodie.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Wow.
So you can help your country and not have to wear a suit.
I'm waiting for Queen Elizabeth to do the first knighting.
Matt, so nice to see you.
It's good to see you, too.
We love you. We appreciate all your good work for us. And if anytime you want to be here, we love having you.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Matt Cutts, everybody. The greatest, right? Webmaster Tools for years. He taught us how to do websites, how to get ranked on Google. And now he's changing the country at usds.gov. Thank you, Matt. Florence Ion, already gave you the plug, all the places she shows up.
FlorenceIon.com.
She's dynamic. She's wonderful. FlorenceIon.com. Oh, that flow on the Twitter. OHTHATFLO. on the Twitter. Sam, what's your Twitter handle? Sam Abul Samad.
Sam Abul Samad, and you can find all the
wait a minute. You can't just say Sam Abul Samad and then expect people to find you. Wait a minute, let me see if I can do it.
Okay.
SAMABUEL SAMID.
Absolutely correct.
Abul Samad. It's not that hard.
No,
it's just like it
easy.
sounds.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Thank you all for being here. We do Twit every Sunday afternoon, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, 2200 UTC. It's always nice to have you here. If you can watch live, you can do that on the stream at twit.tv/live. You've got a choice of video and audio streams. If you are watching live or listening live, please join us in the chat room, irc.twit.tv. That's a great place to hang out with the rest of the kids in the back of the class who are watching the show. You can also be here in studio. We had a nice studio audience today. You guys are very welcome. Thank you for coming by. Your family left, huh? They couldn't take it. They said, enough of that. We had a family in here at one point. Anyway, email tickets@twit.tv. We have toys for the kids. They can drive my little mini Tesla, have an energy bar, all the candy they can eat. You can have coffee.
All the candy I can eat.
Yeah, and she can eat a lot.
I take a lot of candy home.
Every time you're here, I notice there's a depletion.
I know, everybody noticed that.
In the candy
You
supply.
know what? Being paid in candy is not a bad gift.
No.
And I say own it. Like, take some candy.
Own it.
I have been for the last nearly 3 years, taking candy after every show.
I say that in part because I'm going to take some candy when I leave as well.
You know what?
It's a 1 hour drive from me home.
You're
I get
all
hungry.
welcome to take all the candy you want. I give you permission. It's nice that you do that.
Well,
If
I
you-
appreciate the
If
candy.
you'd like to take some candy and watch the show, email tickets@twit.tv. We'll put some candy in the bowl for you before Flo gets here. You
We'll
can
put
also
a bowl on each seat.
Yeah, what we could do that, sure. It's like working for Willy Wonka, isn't it? Yeah. Come on in. The
I've got the
Oompa Loompas are-
golden ticket.
You can also watch on demand. We make audio and video versions of the show available. In fact, all our shows at twit.tv or subscribe in your favorite podcast application. So far, not banned by Marco Arment. You can go Overcast, Stitcher, Slacker, iTunes, wherever you get your podcast, subscribe. You can even ask your favorite voice assistant. You could say, Echo, listen to Twit, and it'll play it. I think you might, if you want the podcast, say This Week in Tech. If you want Twit Live, most of the assistants will play the live stream too. Listen to Twit Live.
And when you're done listening to all those, you can listen to Wheel Bearings.
That's Sam's podcast, Wheel Bearings. Where is that? Where's the network? Where?
Wheelbearings.media. No network. It's just me and Dan Roth every week. Turn on the Skype and jabber on for an hour and a half or so and talk about cars and transportation and all the fun stuff that's going on.
Flo also has her own podcast on the Relay Network, Relay.fm. It's called Material.
Andy and Nutco.
Yay.
We talk about Google very in-depthly, very passionately.
And do you have a podcast?
I don't. I feel like I need a podcast now.
You should get a podcast. You got the T-shirt. Now get the podcast.
I'm not interesting enough.
It's a lot of
you're
work, by the way.
interested.
It's a lot of
It
work.
is a lot of work. Just come here whenever you feel like podcasting.
That's fair.
I thought about that, and when I retire, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to appear on other people's podcasts.
Yeah.
Just keep me in mind.
That's the way to do it.
We got,
Yeah. I don't need all this. I can just be on your show. Yeah. Thanks for joining us. I'm going to stay here for a while, though. Don't worry. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time. Another Twit is in the can.